go. Yeah!
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets. Jets. Yo, what's good, everybody? Everybody's in a good mood in Jet Nation these days. I hope you liked the music on the intro before the intro. As Frankie said, it's very guitar-y. I think he's once again right on point. That was in fact guitar-y, and I liked it. So I let you hear it, and I'm happy I did. I gotta admit, I'm happy I did. So what's happening, everybody? This is GreenBean. Welcome to the Thursday thick of it. Again, I am always happy that you guys are here. I look forward to this one. I sincerely do. I love hanging out with you guys. I love when there's news. I love when there's shit to talk about, and that I get the opportunity to help people smooth over the rough edges. That's my gig. I love it. I love processing with you. It's like a big group therapy session, and I'm in. I love it. But what would therapy be? What would therapy be without Frankie? Huh? So let's say hello to the Wonder Bar himself, Frankie from Flatbush. What's up, Frankie?
Welcome to Cheetah-less Thursday. We don't have the cheetah. We thought we had him. He was close.
He was.
I think we may have to turn this into a therapy session, GreenBean. We may have to turn to your expertise in therapy. I don't know. Chat, tell me what you're feeling. You might be all up in your feelings. You might be like Baker, Reagan, Mayfield, and all up in your feelings. And you may want to write something that goes from the desk of and just put out a missive about Mr. Cheetah, Tereek Hill.
The cheetah. So Frankie, are you sad about it? Where were you? I didn't get an opportunity to talk to you. I woke up yesterday. I went late. Like I went live late on Tuesday night, and I ended up sleeping till like 10:45. I woke up and I looked at my phone, and it was like, the Jets are trading for Tereek Hill. So I jumped up and I went live. I was still like this, and I was already live. And I talked to people, but I didn't get a chance to talk to you so much. How do you feel about, number one, what we were going to do, that we took the attempt, and what did you feel about missing?
Well, I had mixed emotions. I went to lunch. I came back. I looked at Twitter, and I see it's the Jets and the Dolphins for Cheetah. And I'm like, what in the world is this? So I started thinking about it, and I thought I felt pretty good about it. Now, I thought he was going to go to Miami the more I thought about it. But I said, well, number one, at least we're in it. At least Joe Douglas is trying. At least he's, he's taking big swings. And on the other hand, I thought, well, maybe this is a good thing for us to be optimistic about Zach Wilson, because if we're in consideration, the Patriots were not mentioned. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were not mentioned. The Denver Broncos not mentioned. A lot of teams not mentioned. San Francisco 49ers, nobody said anything about them. So it was us and the Dolphins. And I thought, wow, okay, that's interesting. Why is it us and the Dolphins? What is going on here? Because I have this theory that the NFL is like a city, and we live in the ghetto currently. And there's a ghetto, and there's a middle class, and then there's the gated neighborhood. And the gated community is where all the Super Bowl contenders live. And Cheetah, is used to being in the gated community. That's the Chiefs live there. We don't live there. So now Cheetah wants to leave, and he's considering the Dolphins, who are in the middle class, and us, who are in the ghetto. So I was thinking this is very interesting. So I thought that, okay, maybe this is good news about Zach Wilson, because I thought maybe he's looking at Zach Wilson's tape and going, hey, I see something there. Because the Miami Dolphins have all of the other advantages. They have the sunshine. They have the no state income tax. They have Miami Beach. They have a 9-win season preceded by a 10-win season. We have not won anything, and we barely got a staff going. We barely got anything, and we got New Jersey over here. So I thought, well, they have all the advantages, and yet it's us versus them. What is that? What's going on there? So I thought it might be thought it might. I looked at it optimistically, like, hey, maybe he really sees something in Zach that makes him say, okay, I'll consider the Jets. But then at the end of the day, he went with Miami, which makes a lot of sense because he has a second home there. He's a Southern guy. He's from Georgia. So he works out in Florida. And the thing I didn't know at the time, I did go live and talk about this, but the thing I didn't know or didn't put together is Drew Rosenhaus is his agent. And I forgot that Drew Rosenhaus is based in Miami. So all of those.
Oh, there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of cards.
Considered, yeah, it's a lot of cards against us. And yet we were still in the running. So I felt pretty good about it, actually.
Yeah. Well, those are good points. I like that analogy that we are in the ghetto. And it's like, look, you know, like I say all the time, it's like, look, before you come out of the dregs, you got to be the best of the worst, right? Like you got to make sure that you have that foundation. You know, last year we got to play the Jaguars. We beat them. We got to play the Texans and we beat them. We went to play Detroit in the Senior Bowl, our coaches versus their coaches, and we shellacked them. So right now, we are where we're supposed to be. But when you dangle Miami, Florida, and the wonderful state tax mandated New York, it's like it's hard to, you know, it's hard to, and you factor in they have the last 2 years they've had 10 and 9 wins, and now they had the whole Brian Flores implosion recently, and that should factor in a little bit, but they still seem to have more of a foundation than we have. They're kind of ahead of us. They did the multiple first round pick thing a couple years ago, and they stockpiled and everything. So it doesn't make me feel too bad. Like you said, we were in it. Now, did you hear the Tereek Hill press conference? Did you hear what he said about? Yeah.
Yeah, I sure did. And they asked him, and that's what you would expect him to say. Once you're going to a team, you say, oh,
thank
yeah,
you.
This is what you're expected to. What are you going to say? Oh, I really love the Jets, but secretly I'm going to the Dolphins, so don't worry. No, once you're there, you're there. What happened was, and the reporting was that we actually made the first offer. The Jets were the aggressive ones. We had an offer in place that was accepted by the Chiefs, and we had it in place. Then we had to negotiate with the player. So we were negotiating with Drew Rosenhaus, not Tyreek Hill. We're negotiating with Drew Rosenhaus. Drew Rosenhaus gets wind of this and goes, all right, this is pretty good, you know. But then guess what? He calls the Dolphins and he says, listen, I'm on the phone with the Jets, and my client has an off-season home here. He's a Southern boy. He's from Georgia, you know, born and raised in Georgia. He'd prefer to come to the Dolphins. Any chance he could come to the Dolphins? And of course they said, what, Tereek Hill? Yeah, okay. So then then they got their motor going, and they came up with a deal that was acceptable to Hill and a deal that was acceptable to the Chiefs. So that's what happened. And so I think you look at it from a Joe Douglas point of view, and Joe Douglas did exactly what he should do. And the agent did exactly what the agent should do. He knew his client had a preference. He saw if he could get the preference, you know, in place, and he did. And he did right by his client. And the client, Tereek Hill, did exactly what he should do. He has a preference. He's a Southern boy. He grew up in Georgia. He has a second home. He trains in Florida. He likes Florida. He's a Southern man, as Leonard Skinner once said. Southern man, don't need you around anyhow. Remember that song?
That's right. He did say that. Right. They don't need him.
So he's a Southern guy. So he knows Florida. He loves Florida. He called Florida his home. So everybody did exactly what you would want them to do. And JD did exactly what we would want him to do. He tried his best to get the player, and he just didn't work out. I mean, that's all there is to it.
And I tried telling some people on Twitter earlier is that what would you want him to say if he came to the Jets when they asked him how close he was signing with the Dolphins? What would we want him to say? Of course he's going to say, he knows the score. He gets division, right? He knows. Yeah. So it's like, you know, right. And our beat is already taking it hold of it. And he's disrespecting, he's dissing the Jets, laughing at blah, blah, blah. Jets fans, what are you going to do? They're riling us up, and a lot of people are taking the bait as is standard. But guys, that's the fun of sports. Like, we got to get off this. Everything's a personal affront. It's not. It's sports. Like I said the other day with Jamison Crowder traded to the Bill. Oh, I'm sorry, signed with the Bills. I said 3, 2, 1. Crowder sucks. I hate him. I hope he died. You know, all this stuff. And I got fucking ripped. Oh, you know, he was great. I said, dude, stop it. Like, we bust balls in sports. He's a Buffalo Bill. Wait, so I hate him now because I'm aware of how this goes. You're going to wait till he scores his first touchdown against us and then hate him. All right? It doesn't matter. It's like he's a Buffalo Bill, and it's all fun and games. That's what Tereek Hill did today. Like Harry said, he said Jets who. I see you, Kyle. Thank you. Jets therapy session with the Bean. Exactly, buddy. And I appreciate the super chat. Harry he says Jets who. Exactly. Now think about it if it was flipped. And they said, how close were you to signing with the Miami Dolphins? He would have, and he went, Miami who? We would have been like, yeah. Right, that's exactly what he's doing. That's what he's doing. It's called endearing himself to the fan base. Right.
He's no dummy. He's a smart guy.
That's right. So here's a question. Soy Class Act wants to know, and this is an interesting one because I can't find the foundation for it. Now, granted, I only looked for a short period of time, but I did look. It originally started with Rich Cimini. I don't know what source. He just said someone to keep an eye on is A.J. Brown next because him and Elijah Moore are friends. Well, so do you think there's anything? Have you heard anything? Have you dug a little deeper? I mean, to me, it just seems like, hey, here, think of A.J. Brown, Jets fans, and people are kind of biting on it, but I don't know. There might be some truth to it. So what do you know? Do you know anything? And how do you feel about A.J. Brown coming to the Jets?
I mean, I always look at it from the other team's point of view. Why would Tennessee is in win mode, aren't they? Aren't the Titans in win mode right now?
I think so.
They have King Henry coming off a foot injury. How long are they going to have King Henry for? They have Ryan Tannehill he's 33, 34 years old. And so they're in win right now mode. I mean, they're in a division that they can win, pretty easily, although now the Colts are going to give them a run for their money. So why would they get rid of him? What would be the point? That's what I don't get. I would love to have A.J. Brown here. And yes, he is friends with Elijah Moore. That's true. But so's DK Metcalf. Elijah knows DK too. They all went to Ole Miss. But
yeah, I'm gonna venture to say he knows a whole bunch of people.
Oh yeah, he's probably and everybody. I know they're all in the same union. I mean, everybody kind of knows everybody. So, but I mean, I just don't see why the Titans would get rid of him. There's no real reason to, as far as I'm aware of. And he's a very good receiver. We'd be happy to have him, but I don't see why they would want to get rid of him when they're in win now mode and they need, wide receivers. We saw that last year.
Yeah. Like, of course, like you start saying, oh, A.J. Brown, and it's just a funny thing. People go, oh, yeah, and we go nuts like it's real. There's very little of this that's ever real. I mean, look at the Tereek Hill reporting. This is a 36-hour thing for me. I mean, 11 a.m. yesterday morning, whatever the hell that is, and I've heard 15 different stories on what happened, and people just start saying things, and we go nuts and we argue with each other and everything like that. Like we heard that it was the 10 and 35. I don't know, numerous things, and it's just the A.J. Brown thing. I don't think there's any truth to it. Like Frankie said, that why would they give up? He's on his rookie contract too, if I remember correctly. I mean, he's still cheap. Like, why are you going to jettison a cheap receiver with the potential that A.J. Brown has, the impact that A.J. Brown has? He's a good guy too. Like, they like him over there. And for what? So they can start over. Like, what are we going to give them that could make that work? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, even if you think he's just going to leave after his contract's over with, they'll just hold on to him until the contract's over with, because every year they have him is valuable to them because they might go to the Super Bowl that year. Guys that you need to look at are guys on teams that's not going to the Super Bowl. I'll give you three. You want three? Here, yeah. Everybody loves wide receivers. Let me give you three that I came up with.
I'm excited. Let's do it.
One is already, that people have been speculating about. Two are kind of new, so it'd be interesting to talk about these guys.
All right.
Number one, Number one, Deontay Johnson, Pittsburgh Steelers. He's got 1 year left on his deal. They're in transition. They don't know what they're doing. They got Mitch Trubisky. They might have Malik Willis. Who knows what they're doing. They might want to recoup a few picks before he leaves. Deontay Johnson, very good receiver. Steelers.
All right, let me just see. I want to see what year. So hold on a second. All right, he's in his fourth. Yeah, he's in his fourth year. Okay, great.
Yeah, They only got 1 year. Yeah. They're not going to the Super Bowl. Are they going to extend him for big boy money? Nobody knows, but they're not going to the Super Bowl this year. If we get him, we'd have to extend him, and give him big boy money. But
Yeah.
that's the kind of a trade that might work because they might view 2 picks or 3 picks or 2 picks in a player as more valuable than extending Deontay Johnson, maybe. And I don't
Got
know
it.
if they would, but that's possible.
1,100 yards last year. That would be fun. Okay. Who's next?
Next, Brandon Cooks, Houston Texans. There's a team that's in transition. We don't know what they're doing. They're starting over. They might value a few picks more than they would Brandon Cooks. There's a guy who's had multiple 1,000-yard seasons with different quarterbacks, and he's getting a little old. We might have to extend him on his contract 1 year, but he's relatively cheap compared to some of these other guys.
Okay. Yeah, Brandon Cooks. Who wouldn't like Brandon Cooks running around? He's a solid receiver. That was the receiver I wanted in that draft. He was sitting right there. He was waiting. And Rex told Idzik, hey, I want Pryor instead. He's going to change the organization.
Now here's the third one. I just came up with this one. This is the most interesting one, I think. And I think it's very interesting. How about Kenny Galladay on the New York Giants? Here's a guy.
Really?
He's just signed him. He's $21 million. So they might say, you know what? He's a little expensive for us. He has 2,000-yard seasons in his past with Detroit, with Stafford. He might be considered a disappointment with the Giants. And so he has a big salary, $21 million. That's someone that we might look at and say, well, if he's really a number one receiver, I mean, he's 6'4". He's got, they call him, what do they call him? Babytron, Baby Megatron.
Babytron. Yeah,
They call him Babytron. He's got 2,000-yard season in his career, and for $21 million, that contract, if he's a number one receiver, doesn't look so bad in the current market. But the Giants are also starting over. They might value a few picks more than they do the $21 million receiver in Kenny Galladay. How about that?
Well, he had that big injury last year too. So I don't know.
Injured, which also helps the case. They might want to say, hey. But it's slim pickings. So I realize these are all kind of out there, but it's slim pickings out there now. I was trying to figure out who the heck we could get, and it's slim pickings. Yeah,
but you're 100% right. I mean, teams that are on the ascend and they have their core group, they're not looking to break it up for no reason unless they're the Texans. I don't know why the Texans did that 2 years ago. They just said, all right, we're the division champs. Let's just blow this shit up. Let's get rid of D-Hop, Sean Watson. Let's break this up. This is dumb. That's what they did. I don't know why. I don't know what they were thinking, whatever. But you got to think like that. So Brandon Cooks is a good one. Pittsburgh, I don't think that they believe that they're on the descend. They've never been. They go down like Tomlin has famously said, they don't rebuild, they retool. They restock, they reload, or whatever he said. So they're going to end up
when you got, that's easy to say when you got Ben Roethlisberger.
That's right.
When you got a franchise quarterback sitting there, and it's Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger or any franchise quarterback, it's a little easier to say than when you're bringing in the likes of Mitch Trubisky. So let's just
that's right. Tomlin's you're going to see Pittsburgh. I think is going to want to trade up. If Malik Willis makes it past the Detroit Lions, they're going to be calling us. You'll see.
Yeah. Probably.
I bet there's already a trade in place. Joe Douglas is going to take their next 6 years first-round picks. So Nose Kills checks in with the super chat. Thank you, Nose Kills. He says, what's your favorite booze to ease the pain after a particularly painful Jets loss? I go for Talisker Scotch. Have a good one. Well, as you guys know, I do not drink, but as you probably know, I used to drink entirely too much. So let me say this. In the beginning, when I still had money and I was like, I'm going to look for something good, I was a single malt Scotch guy. Now, I love my JD. Jack on the Rocks was my thing when I was just drinking, but I loved my single malt. In particular, it was Glenfiddich. That was or Glen Labatt. I liked both of those. And there were some others, but Glenfiddich was my go-to. I like the container, the cardboard tube. I enjoy that. Why? I don't know. I like the tube. I like to put it back in there, the whole thing. Everybody says, why are you putting it back in the tube? I like the tube. All right, that's my thing. But I don't drink anymore. So, and at the end, Frankie, it was Evan Williams, which looks like Jack Daniels, but is about, 1/3 the price. It looks exactly like Jack Daniels, the same label and everything, but it's cheaper. So what about you? Do you like to have a little scotch or something to, soothe the pain?
No, I mean, I haven't had a drink in years. I'm kind of like you, Green Bean. I kind of like to keep it all clean and sober. But back when I was drinking, I was more of a wine guy. So I grew up, I worked for Morel and Company in New York for a while. That was a fine wine and auctions house. So I got used to some very fine wines that I got to drink for free that were very expensive. So that was my thing. But if you drink after the Jets lose, it doesn't change the outcome at No Skills. They still have lost after you're done drinking. The loss doesn't go away.
Listen, this is the big problem. See, now for a guy like myself, and we'll move back into football in just a second, and No Skills wants to remind us, don't take me as a guy who drinks it all the time. I drink just beer, but the thing is like I was a guy who, the mail would come in and you just grab the mail and you put it on your table and you're like, I'm going to open that mail. And what's in there. It's bills and shit, right? Maybe some coupons, but it's bills. And I would have a stack of mail that booze I used to hide and pretend it would go away with booze. And guess when I woke up the next day, guess what was sitting right there? Dun, 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 the stack of mail and more was coming. So you're right. It doesn't make anything go away. We still lost. So I don't know, but it does, it does help in the moment. So who knows? So TWC says Joe Douglas needs to ask who's available. Frankie, do you think he's doing that? I mean, I didn't hear Tereek Tereek Hill was available. I mean, Joe Douglas knew.
I mean, you have to think he's scouring the league. I mean, I think one of the things we can infer from the Tereek Hill, we were in on Tereek Hill. We had the first offer in on him. That's what was reported. The Jets had the offer in. The Chiefs loved our offer and everything. So with that being said, you have to think he's got contingency plans. We know Joe Douglas now, don't we? I mean, don't we feel like we know Joe Douglas?
A little bit more. Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, do you think he's really just going, it's Tereek Hill or bust? No, he's probably got 50 contingency plans. What those are, I'd like to know, because we would like to know, Joe, what are we doing here? And all these people are getting signed. MVS is getting signed, and Allen Robinson is getting signed, and everyone's getting signed, and everyone's getting traded. But he probably does. You would have to think he would be in on any available wide receiver. Now, the news for DK, for example, is that they're saying they're going to sign DK, the Seahawks. So that's the news. Now, the Chiefs were trying to sign Tereek also, so you never know. But that was the news anyway.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, and then we're going to get into Mitt Flair's super chat. But this is an interesting thing. Somebody said earlier today, and I caught wind of it, and I started thinking, it's like, this clearly says that Joe Douglas knows we need a number one wide receiver. And that's why he's taking all these shots. He tried with Amari Cooper. He tried with Tereek Hill, So it shows that Joe Douglas is aggressively trying to implant a number one wide receiver in here that's a vet. Now, I don't know if I buy that. That's on the surface, it looks exactly like that. But I think it might be more about the potential player that's available, the opportunity. Yeah. Like Tereek Hill is one of the best players in the league, hands down. He's different. He's built different than everybody else. He was a 4th round pick, if I remember correctly. He was considered too small, so he's got that outwork you attitude. He just all the things that he's done on the field. So I think Joe Douglas saw it as an opportunity to get a dynamic player, but I don't think he feels that is like at all costs he has to get a wide receiver. I don't think it's that way. I think he's going to get one in the draft, but I don't think he feels that. It's just an opportunity for the specific player that was available. And that's why we were kind of lukewarm on Amari Cooper. I mean, we heard later that the Jets weren't as engaged as the beat made us think they were. They checked, they called. It was, he wasn't going to renegotiate. He said, okay, forget it. Like, that's all it was. It was, as we say, it was a tire kicking. You know what I mean? It was, I'll check, see if he's see what we can do there. But what do you think? Do you think it's that Joe Douglas knows that he needs a wide receiver, a number one wide receiver right now, and he wants a vet if he can do it that way? Or do you think it was more about the specific opportunity that became available and he was trying to strike in, as he said in his own words?
Well, yeah, I think he's going to be situational. I mean, and I think that's why he's gone about things the way he's gone about them, so that when opportunities arise, he can be in on anything. He can be in on anything and everything that comes up. And so, if you look at the 2 wide receivers out in Seattle, for example, DK is a much more valuable person than Tyler Lockett, say. And why is that? They're both very good wide receivers. What's the difference? Well, one's younger and is going to cost you less. Well, depends. But Tyler Lockett already has a terrible contract. You're going to have to give DK a big boy contract, though. So it may be equal, but DK's much younger. Okay, so that's a whole different kettle of fish, even though they're both very good wide receivers just on the surface if you're looking at them talent-wise, but they're not the same. So,
Right.
so I think he's going to look at it and whatever. He's not going to make a foolish move. For example, in the Tyreek Hill deal, we weren't even giving up any of our ones. We were going to keep 4 and 10 and have Tyreek Hill. Can you imagine? So
yeah, which is amazing. It's not to devalue 35 and 38. I mean, those are incredibly valuable. But at the same time, but you're right.
Yeah, you're getting a top wide receiver in the whole league, and you're not even giving up a number 1 pick. What? That's a great deal. They were thrilled when they were the first team. They made the offer on Monday before the Dolphins were ever involved. So that is fantastic, and they were excited, saying, "Oh, wow, this is going to be amazing." Yeah, but so it just depends. It's not just we're going to get anybody. They're going to do. If I had to guess, we're going to do something smart, even if that something smart is re-sign Keelan Cole as resiliency depth, and then draft somebody. Maybe we draft Garrett Wilson with the 10th overall pick.
Yeah, maybe.
That's how you go about it. I mean, there's many ways to skin a cat.
Right. Or Drake London or whoever their fancy is. I tend to, I vacillate between the two. It's like, I get it. It looks like that. Like Joe Douglas is in panic mode, but I don't think that's the case. I think, like Frankie said, he's going to make a smart move. He sees an opportunity for a smart move. He took a swing and that's it. Didn't work. Okay, great. On to the next. No fuss, no muss. So Mitt Flair checks in. He says, not a single beat writer had a whiff on the potential Hill trade. We've learned that the Jets were negotiating for some time, days, and they knew nothing. Now, all of a sudden, they know all the wide receivers on the Jets' radar. Hot garbage. I couldn't agree more, Mitt. And that's the thing. They did this to us last year, too. They all had us, Juju Smith-Schuster, Joe Thuney. I'm told the Jets are going to be in fast on Corey Linsley. Never made an offer. They said we were negotiating with Juju Smith-Schuster, and then we signed Corey Davis. They said we were doing Hendrickson, and then Carl Lawson comes. It's like they're taking guesses. That's what this is. And it's a funny thing. Like, to me, it's funny. Because they're supposed to be the guys that are the inner circle. They're the ones that cover this team. They're in the building. And outside sources tell them they have to report. Adam Schefter said that's what they have to do. And if not, like, look at what Cimini said today. He said, that's so true. You know what I mean? He said, keep an eye on A.J. Brown. Him and Elijah Moore are friends. Yeah. Holy shit. Is this for real? Is this what is this news?
They're like looking at college rosters and going, who is teammates with whom? Let's figure that. That's what they're resorting to. They don't have any
friends.
Leads. There's no.
That's
leads.
Right.
So they
figured
nothing. It out. They figured it out because of Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. So they said, oh, wait a minute. Whoa, he's going now. Also, Devontae Adams grew up in the Bay Area. You know that?
Yeah.
He was a big Raiders fan.
2 plus 2. Here we go.
And so they go, okay, that's the way to do it. Wait, let's see who else was in college together. Oh,
yeah.
But then you'd have what about all the Alabama guys? So what are we going to do? Have all the Alabama guys who are teammates be on one team now or what?
Yeah, it's a funny thing, man. I mean, look, and there are beat reporters out there that cover their team that are enmeshed with the organization. The organization respects them. They have a relationship. They give the first nuggets to them. That is not the case here. This organization, they have a handshake. They smile. They do everything professionally, but they give them nothing. They don't report on anything. Remember the number 10 overall pick for Calvin Ridley? Remember that one?
Yeah.
Remember Berrios for $9 million? Remember that? I thought it was bullshit.
We got him for 3.5. We got him for 33% of what Cimini reported. That's
right. Yeah. It's a funny thing. So David, there's a whole bunch of guys in there reporting on what they like to drink. We got some Mad Dog 2020. We got some other stuff, some cigars. But David, he's surprised to learn that I'm not a pothead. David, I'm not. Isn't it funny? I used to smoke a lot of pot. But I'm going to tell you the truth. The thing is, guys, is that drugs and alcohol I was literally sleeping in a hallway in Newark, man. So I used to beg for change at Penn Station in Newark. I would tell people I got robbed. I'm a businessman or whatever I'm doing. I'm a college student, and they would give me money and I'd go to the projects, get high and sleep on the floor. That's what I did. So I don't recommend it. So I had to stop. That's not the way I was intending to go with my life. So now if I smoke pot, David, you know what happens? I end up in Newark. And I'm in Virginia, and I'll still go to Newark because I don't know where to get it here. So I'll drive all the way to fuck back to Newark. That's what I do. So I've been, Frankie, I've been in Bar Harbor, Maine, and I ran out of what I needed, and I was all in withdrawal and everything, and I drove 8.5 hours back to Newark. 8.5 hours.
That's
You believe that? Yeah, that's slavery. That's what that is. Well, but anyway, yeah, I don't do it. Look, Chin Check says I pop a perk. That was another one of my favorites. I used to eat 100 perks a day, Chin Check.
100?
Dude, yeah, 100. Well, that's the thing. That's where you go. You take one, you take 100 for me. That's the thing. There's a saying in my circles, one is too many, 1,000's not enough. That is true for me. Matthew Smith says, you smoke cigars? If so, I don't smoke cigars. Interestingly, Matthew, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, I can't smoke cigars. Like, for me, I don't understand when you put something in your mouth and like I have to inhale it, and I always get like ill to my stomach. Like I smoke, it's just a big, huge 8-hour cigarette for me. That's all it is. I don't understand. And that's just me, but I don't get it. But I used to smoke, I would go to cigar bars every now and then. I like the peanuts, so they give you free peanuts and scotch and all that jazz. Jeremy likes edibles. All right. Okay, here we go. So, here's the thing. So we got this, we have this scenario right now where Jets fans are panicking over the wide receiver situation. Now, and of course, it's at the forefront because in our minds, we took a swing at Amari Cooper. Who wouldn't like to have Amari Cooper? I like Amari Cooper. I think he would have been a great get. The Jets didn't really think he was worth $20 million. Whether you agree or disagree doesn't really matter. The Jets didn't think that they wanted to give him $20 million. The 5th round pick was fine. It was, right? That wasn't the issue. It was a $20 million. Then we do the Tereek Hill thing, and they were clearly interested in him, and it didn't work. So now we have 9 picks in the upcoming draft. Per the non-trade, we still have all 5 of our top 69 picks. So we have 2 top 10, 4 top 40, and 5 top 69 picks. So the idea of bringing in a wide receiver every other year seems to be fine, Frankie. But this year, I'm getting a lot of feedback that it's a failure to rely on the draft for your impact wide receiver. Like, we are failing right now in free agency. Relying on the draft is kind of being presented to me as a last resort. Where do you think this is coming from? Number one, do you agree? And if not, explain it. But where's this coming from? Why is every other year the draft is looked at as the place to get your goods? And this year, it seems like to many people, it's the last resort. What do you think's going on out there?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. So this has been the most wild NFL offseason I think anyone's ever seen. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever seen an NFL offseason as wild as this. And a lot of it has been wide receiver, big name, big money.
Yeah.
Wide receivers moving around. That doesn't happen all the time. And here we are, we're the Jets, and we're going, excuse us, we just signed Nick Bawden. Hooray! Nick Bawden. Would you like to see Nick Bawden? And we're like, wait a minute. What about Davante Adams and Tyreek? What are you talking about, Nick Bawden? What is going on? So I think that's part of it. The other part of it is in the draft, there's no such player as it's highly thought of by the evaluators. There's no Jamar Chase or Jalen Waddle. There's not that caliber where it's clearly these two are superstars. They're going to be from day one. Like, there's nobody like that in this draft, because if there was, we would be taking them at 4. It would be Jamar Chase to the Jets. That would be, but there's no Jamar Chase. So when you combine that, all these people are moving around, and there's no Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle type in the draft, at least by consensus. There might turn out to be one. Don't forget, DK Metcalf was not a first-round pick.
Right. A lot of these guys weren't.
Yeah, a lot of the guys aren't. So there may be one turn out to be, but right now, as far as the evaluators are concerned, there isn't. And on top of that, I think people did not, unfortunately, get to see what we're going to see, I think, next year in Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is a stud. I am telling you. Last year, Daniel Jeremiah had him going 15th in his final mock draft. 15th. Okay. Elijah Moore. We got
Right.
him at 32 and he's on our team. And we didn't get to see him because he had his quad injuries and we had all sorts of problems in the beginning of the year. And, obviously we started slow with all the things going on and rookie quarterback and this and that and all those things. But I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe this year we're going to see a much different Elijah Moore and you're going to really see what he is, which is Antonio Brown plus. So, so I think all of those things are combining. If Elijah Moore had 1,000 yards last year, let's say, nobody would be freaking out. They'd be saying Elijah Moore's the next Justin Jefferson. We're good. We got it. We'd like to add to it, but it wouldn't be this freaking out kind of a thing.
Yeah, well, and it's an interesting thing because this is our lot this year as far as wide receivers go. So you look at the lot, you look at the collection of talent that you have in the draft, and the best is the best, and then you go from there as you see it. So we have guys like Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Treylon Burks, kind of up top, maybe Dotson, whoever, and then you go down from there. You have the Watsons, the Pickens, the Bells, all those guys. And just because they're the best in this draft doesn't mean that they have a first round grade. Like I want you to know, like, that every year teams will carve up the whole collection of college players. Some are undraftable, some are 5th round grades, and there's only a few players that each team designates as first round talents. It doesn't go, every team doesn't have 32 first round talents. They have 8, they have 12.
Yeah.
Something like that,
Right.
15, whatever it might be. And those are the only guys that are worth picking in the first round. Now, just because he's the best receiver in this draft, and I'm just using receiver as an example, just because he's the best receiver in this draft doesn't mean that teams have a first round grade. So fans can go nuts. Why didn't we take the best receiver in the draft at 10? Well, because I have a 3rd round grade on that guy, or a 2nd round grade, let's say. And so the Jets could still prioritize wide receiver and not take one at 4 or 10. I mean, you saw Mel Kiper had us taking Drake London at 4 overall, which I want you to know, I think is a virtual impossibility. It's just, it's not happening. Now, if it does, I'll come back and say, hey, fuck, man, I was wrong. I don't see it in a million years. I don't see it. Now, could I see it at 10? I can see Garrett Wilson. I can see Drake London at 10, but I cannot see one of these guys at 4. I find it hard to believe that Drake London is considered a top 5 pick on Joe Douglas's board. So it's an interesting thing. Now, again, it doesn't mean that we're not prioritizing the wide receiver position and that we aren't getting the best guy that we view on our board, or the second best guy or the third best guy, whatever it might be, if we don't take one in the first round. Now, a lot of people are concerned, Frankie, because the teams at the end of the draft, some of them are the teams that traded away wide receivers. It looks like there's 6 or 7 teams there that really are going to need a wide receiver. And so Jets fans are panicking that if we don't get one at 10, even though it could be perceived as a reach, if you don't reach at 10, you're going to miss out at 35. Do you think that's the case? Do you think you would have the stomach, the emotional fortitude to wait until 35 for maybe a guy like a George Pickens, like a Christian Watson, like a David Bell, like a Jahan Dotson? Some of these guys are going to be there. I mean, it's without question. 18 receivers are not going in the first round in this draft because, like you said, there is no Jamar Chase in this draft. Now, you could say Jalen Williams was, or maybe even Garrett Wilson. You could like him that much. But I'm telling you, in NFL circles, there's no Jamar Chase. There's no Devontae Smith. There's no Jerry Jeudy, like those guys, just Justin Jefferson. This is not those draft classes. Doesn't mean they're not good players. But so would you have the emotional fortitude to wait and not take a wide receiver at 10? Or would you say, no, I got to get a wide receiver. I got to get my number 1 guy. I don't care if I have him rated at 30. I got to get him at 10. Where do you stand? How do you see it?
Well, let's think about this for a second. My first film study came out this morning, a little bit of a film study. I went back and looked at the Panthers game from last year. Remember that? We played the Panthers
I do.
the first game of the year.
Hey, was that the game where Sam Darnold threw a big bomb to Robbie Anderson and he did the Jets thing for all the fans that were still
did
saying they
happen.
loved Sam?
That did happen, but they also stole James Morgan. They also switched their numbers the night before the game.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did a bunch of shady things, and they only beat us. And they only beat us by 5. Let me just say that.
Yep. Okay, I'm in. I remember.
But the thing I was actually looking at is what were we doing formation-wise with our personnel groupings? And some people may say, oh, no, Frankie with his personnel groupings. But what were we doing? And I wanted to look at it. And guess what we were doing? Elijah Moore was on the outside. Corey Davis was on the outside. Trevon Wesco was in the backfield. And Ryan Griffin was our tight end.
Correct.
That's what we were doing, and we were trying to run plays out of that. That's what we wanted to do. And we noticed this in preseason last year. And I, in particular, was saying, Trevon Wesco is going to mess this whole damn thing up because he's not good enough. And I watched a few play, and it's true. He's not a good enough player. But guess what? We now have Nick Bawden. People may not know who Nick Bawden is or what he's good at, but he's good at blocking. He's good at the one thing we need him to be good at, blocking people. And we now have 2 tight ends who are better than Ryan Griffin. Their names are CJ Uzama and Tyler Conklin. So if you think about it, if we do 12 personnel this year, or even 22 personnel this year, let's say it's 12 personnel, okay? 1 running back, 2 tight ends. Those 2 tight ends, not one of them is going to be named Ryan Griffin. Not one of them is going to be named Trevon Wesco. They're going to be named Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzama, who are much better than those 2. So we can actually block people. In addition, we have Laken Tomlinson over GVR. So Greg Van Roten was our starting right guard last year. We now have a significant upgrade in Laken Tomlinson, who's going to need no time to adjust to our scheme because that's the scheme he came from. So now we have upgraded everything that we were trying to do last year pretty much. And Zach Wilson going to be on year 2 instead of year 1. And Michael Carter's going to be starting and not Tevin Coleman. So our starting running back last year was Tevin Coleman. Okay, and we still have Tevin Coleman. He's great for running back 3, but not running back 1. And so all of this stuff that we're talking about with wide receiver may be a moot point because, first of all, it's going to be Elijah Moore and Corey Davis in 12 personnel. We're going to run a lot more 12 personnel. And if we need a third receiver, we have another guy. His name is Braxton Berrios.
Correct.
You may remember him. We brought him back. We got him.
Yeah. A week and a half ago, everybody was freaking out. He was a priority. We needed him, Frankie.
And now everybody forgets we have him.
Yeah,
he's
he
our
sucks.
Third receiver. He's
he sucks.
Fine to put in the slot. By the way, Elijah Moore, I just looked it up before this very broadcast. Elijah Moore was out wide 73% of the time last year. Did you know that? He was not a slot receiver. He was in the slot only about 15% of the time. Otherwise, he was out there out wide with Corey Davis and other people. So that's going to continue. Those are our 2 whatever we want to call them, split ends. Okay?
Yeah, right. Split ends. Yeah. That's still Davis. What I call them. I'm telling you, I still live in that era, man. I still call them flankers and shit and slots.
Yeah, now we call them X and Z. But it's correct. Elijah and it's Corey. And if we need a slot receiver, his name's going to be Braxton Berrios. Okay. And we haven't even gotten to Denzel Mims yet. And then we have Denzel Mims who might come in and do something. But correct. Pray to God. So are we desperate for a wide receiver? I don't think so. I think those 2 tight end signings make me say, no, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not desperate. Do we want one? Yes. Can we, if something comes up? Okay. Tyreek Hill came up. You pursue Tyreek Hill. You pursue the hell out of him, right? Because it's Tyreek Hill. It's very hard to find a Tyreek Hill. But indeed. Otherwise, we're not desperate. If something makes sense, Joe Douglas will pursue it and pursue it hard. This is what we found out about Joe Douglas. He's not shy to pay people. He's aggressive, but he's not stupidly aggressive. He's reasonable. He's aggressive when he needs to be, and he'll do something prudent. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and you know what? Very well said, by the way. Drew Rosenhaus put out an official statement that said Joe Douglas was delightful to work with. That's what he said. So the Marcus May agent, who, if you watch Frankie's recent video, which I enjoyed very much, Frankie, talks about Marcus May's agent. He got Marcus May a contract down there in New Orleans. He lost him $9, though, by the way, with his antics. So that's something that everybody's not talking about. But he did. He lost his client $9 million. And now he's making a very similar stink out there in Arizona for Kyler Murray. Exact same tactics, going to the press and all this kind of shit. And he said that Joe Douglas was the worst GM that he's ever dealt with, and he's never going to deal with him again. Drew Rosenhaus, a renowned sports agent, kind of created the whole genre, if you will. He was like the first super agent. Drew Rosenhaus said Joe Douglas was a consummate professional, delightful to work with, all those. I'm probably using the wrong words, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm with you, Frankie. I think we're just an emotional bunch. And it's not to say we don't need a wide receiver. I think we're definitely going to bring one in. But I would be surprised slightly if they drafted one at 10. So Julian Verney checks in with a super chat. Thank you, Julian. He says, how would you guys feel about trading a second and maybe a fourth or fifth for Chase Claypool? It doesn't feel like Tomlin is crazy about him. What do you think about Chase Claypool? If people, just a little touch up on our memory, Chase Claypool had the closest combine numbers to Megatron of any wide receiver since Megatron. And he had a very, very good rookie year and a strong second year. I don't remember his numbers last year, but he had a very strong rookie year where he blew a lot of people's minds because they were trying to make him a tight end at the combine. The NFL said, we'd like you to do the tight end drills. And he said, no, I'm a wide receiver. I don't want to do that. So he got kind of pushed around a little bit, stayed strong, did very well for himself. What do you think if he became available? Is that a guy you'd pursue for what Julian's saying here, a second and maybe a fourth or fifth?
Yeah, if he's available, we should run to the phone and make the trade, whatever it is.
Interesting.
Chase Claypool is very good and very cheap. So let's look at his stats for a second. So last year, okay, he's had 2 years of over 800 yards, 14 yards per reception. So he's a deep threat. Remember, Randy Moss, to give people, I was just looking at Randy Moss's career yards per reception is like 15.3. And by the way, Kenny Galladay's is higher. So if you want to know what a deep threat is, you look at Randy Moss, right? And figure out, okay, here's a deep threat. What was it?
Yeah.
Right. So, and Kenny Galladay's is higher and Chase Claypool's around that. So he's had 800 plus yards. And don't forget, Ben Roethlisberger's arm was falling off both of those years that he's been. So he's good. He's cheap because he's on his rookie deal and he's a little bit immature, but Mike Tomlin deals with immature people all the time. Remember, he had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown and kept them in line for years. Mike Tomlin is a coach of all coaches. He's an excellent coach.
Yes.
So I really doubt that the Steelers are going to give up on a guy like Chase Claypool, who's that talented and that cheap. So he's in a case where you keep him because he's on a super cheap deal for another 2 years. There's no reason to get rid of him unless he, just for a little immaturity. Yeah, he's immature and he does the celebrations a little too much and all of that kind of thing. But for the talent he brings and the cost he costs you, you're gonna deal with his immaturity and hope he kind of straightens up and flies right. So if he were available, yes, we should go after him. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, look at his role model, Juju Smith-Schuster. He's doing the whole TikTok thing on the emblems of the teams. You know, it's like a whole thing, man.
And that's another one that was on the Steelers, and Mike Tomlin dealt with him. I mean, so Mike Tomlin, has a way with these players that he can tolerate that kind of stuff. So.
He does. Chinchek says, GreenBean, I've been a maniac Jets fan since 81. How about you? 81, buddy. I think it was the same day. Did I see you at the ground round in Bloomfield or Belleville, New Jersey that day? Watching the Mud Bowl?
Round. They should put a plaque on that ground round. This is the place where GreenBean became a Jets fan. They need a nice big plaque outside. That would be a tourist attraction for that ground round.
I agree. I'm going to lobby for such a thing, man. Just a little plaque on the wall, you know? Yeah. It's like when you walk down 34th Street in New York City at the Macy's, there's a little tiny plaque that millions of people walk by every day, and it says, this is where Thomas Edison on this spot filmed the first ever motion picture. Right. And people don't give a shit about it, Frankie. They walk right by. I've stopped there and said, wow!
But this is more important. This is green.
I agree.
I mean, come on. Please.
Right. It's the beginning of the Jets lore.
Anyways.
Right. I heard he was a jerk. I did.
Somebody could invent a light bulb.
I know. What is this? You know, LEDs are better anyway than this incandescent shit that he made.
Ideas from Tesla anyhow.
He did.
Be real.
He did. That's the truth. They say that Thomas Edison wasn't the better inventor. He was a better businessman, and that's it. Yeah, and that's why we know him. Tesla wasn't a businessman. It's crazy how that works. Let's see what else we got here. I want to say Fat Gandalf has been harassing me a little bit in the chat. He's saying that I somehow owe him royalties, Frankie, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell he's talking about. And I think it has something to do with, I made a video today called Joe Douglas is a Wizard, right? I'm going right at the heart of this thing. and I put Gandalf on the thumbnail.
Oh,
So I think that might be what he is. But that's not fat Gandalf. That's regular Gandalf. That's Gandalf the Gray.
and also
Fat
you got to own
Gandalf.
the trademark, Fat Gandalf. Where's your trademark lawyer? Yeah,
That's right.
Lawyer up, buddy. Lawyer up.
Yeah. So FOC, what's up, FOC? He checks in. He says, I'm really feeling a trade back from 10. Call it man's intuition. LOL. Good, because I was laughing. What do you think about this trade back? There are some rumors.
Normally,
that
people are moving up into 10 to get a quarterback. What quarterback you really want to go get? Malik Willis? Because a lot of people have Malik Willis slipping. Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock, Malik Willis is not in the first round. Not in the first round at all.
Yeah, he's wrong. I'm going to tell you right now.
Wrong, but I mean, he could be wrong, but it seems like there's no consensus. I mean, you want to take baby hands Pickett? I mean, come on.
The draft tech board has him going at 6 overall to the Panthers.
Really?
And I'm not going to give you guys my whole mock, and I'm going to release our mocks any day now, I promise. But
they've changed.
I know. Oh, significantly. A lot's happened. So we gotta update those things. But I will tell you now, I have Malik Willis going number 2 overall to the Detroit Lions, who are an organization without the mental fortitude that Joe Douglas has. They're going to panic. They're going to think somebody's going to take their guy. They want to wait a little bit and get him later, but they're not going to. They're going to pull a Gettleman, and they're going to grab Daniel Jones with the 6th overall pick instead of waiting. And this time it'll be the 2nd overall pick for Malik Willis. The rumor is they are infatuated with him, and I think for good reason. You know, he's a good quarterback.
Would you like some insider information?
I would, very much so.
I happen to have some inside information. Some folks may know I'm currently residing in Pittsburgh. Do you know what they're calling Pittsburgh at the moment?
They're calling it... No, I don't know, Frankie. I really don't.
They're calling it Pickettsburg. Now,
Ooh.
Who is the owner of the Carolina Panthers?
Tom.
No. Who is the owner of the Carolina Panthers?
Yeah, I can see his face. I don't know his name. I can see it.
It's David Tepper. Now, where is David?
Right.
Where is David Tepper from?
Pittsburgh.
He's from Pickettsburg. Now, where did he graduate from? The University of
Pitt.
Pittsburgh.
Really? Ooh.
So, and then he got his graduate degree at Carnegie Mellon, which is right next door. So, what do you think the Pittsburgh, the donation people, the people who raise money for the school, which is a full-time job, they're raising millions and billions of dollars. How much do you think they are calling David Tepper and saying, you got to pick Kenny Pickett, because Kenny Pickett going 6th overall does so much for the University of Pittsburgh, you know, their program, for their school, all of that, you know, recruiting and all that. How much pressure do you think the University of Pittsburgh is putting on David Tepper to take Kenny Pickett with the 6th overall pick? How about that?
Now, that is an interesting little twisteroonie. Now, I want to tell you this. I think there will be 2 top 10 quarterbacks taken. It's going to happen. Now, it doesn't happen every year. It didn't happen the Dwayne Haskins year. The top 2 quarterbacks were Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins, of course. And there was only 1 top 10 quarterback. But I think this year there are going to be at least 2, and people aren't talking about. Everybody's letting it stay quiet this year. Everybody's letting it settle. But that's what's going to happen. I would not be surprised, because the Panthers passed on, well, not only Justin Fields, but they passed on Mac Jones and Kyle Trask and Kellen Mond and everybody last year. They took Joe Horn, or not Joe Horn, J.C. Horn, his son, Joe Horn's son, and they took a cornerback because they had who? They had Sam Darnold. And they already know Sam isn't it. Sure, we gave up 3 picks over 2 years for him, and we committed to his 5th-year option, which is $19 million this year. But he's not the guy, and we're not passing on a quarterback again. That's my thought. So I would not be surprised, because Malik Willis is going to be gone. And I think that if he does make it past 2, I think that somebody's trading up to 4 to get him. There's going to be a panic. about Malik Willis. You'll see. And Kenny Pickett is going to go to the Panthers at 6. I would not be surprised. But so is when they're calling it Pickettsburg, do you think Pittsburgh has that same allure like Tomlin and the Rooneys? You think that they want Pickett that much, or you think it's just,
well, here's the thing.
Atmospheric?
Here's the thing about the Steelers and Tomlin and Pickett. They share a facility. It's right down the block from me. I walk past it every day. University of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Steelers share a facility. And Kenny Pickett's been a quarterback at Pittsburgh for 5 years. They've had eyes on him for 5 years.
So they know if they hate him or not, Frankie. Like,
so
this
they
guy
know
sucks.
all about him. And I don't think that they're hot on him. And I think that tells you all you need to know about Pickett, because if the Steelers aren't hot on him, you can't have better intel on a guy than he's been in their building for 5 years, literally.
Yeah, that's a good take. So if somebody could look at the Steelers and say, look, they've been sitting with them for years, like you said, if they don't like them, then maybe there's something more there than I see.
Or they don't like him as a first rounder. Like, they probably like him, but not with their first pick. They probably, if they could get him in the second round or third, even, well, second round, let's say, they would probably love him at second round value. But first round value, I don't think so. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe they will. Maybe they will like him.
Well, that would be interesting. But I think, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like Kenny Pickett if they love Malik Willis. Like, think about this. Yeah. Like you said, Tomlin has had Roethlisberger his entire career in Pittsburgh, which is just insane to think about. They've had 4 head coaches since the early 70s, and they've had, one quarterback since, what was that, the year 2000, 2001 or something like that. So 20 years or what it may be. So it's really an interesting thing, like this is Tomlin's first opportunity to grab a quarterback that he wants.
Right.
And the rumor is he loves Malik Willis. Now, it's very, very different than what they've been running up there, and maybe that's what he wants to do. He wants to change it up. Bringing in Mitch Trubisky it puts a stick in that in the spokes of that thought process, though, because generally speaking, you want to have a backup quarterback that can kind of emulate, what the starting quarterback does, because when he goes down, you want the other guy to come in and run the same offense. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting, but I do think 2 quarterbacks are going to go top 10. Speaking of quarterbacks, Kyle Ornsby checks in and he says, hopefully Zach figures out by year 2 to throw it away when nothing is there. Well, I think Kyle, I have to say that the last 5-6 games of the year, he looked much, much better with that. He didn't throw a single interception. He was much more calm in the pocket. He seemed to understand the offense. The game was moving slower. He didn't seem so antsy, and he was throwing the ball away a little bit more. So I think that he started to understand the offense. And that's the thing. When you're trying to go, okay, but the guys over there, you're trying to think of all this stuff. Everything seems really, really fast. When you're comfortable in and the information, I think it slows down. What do you think, Frankie? You think Zach Wilson's got a good chance to continue that end of the season, side of him, mitigating the interceptions and all that, or do you think he's going to be an erratic guy that we got to wait for a couple years?
Well, he's never been erratic his whole life, so that's one thing. He's always been accurate, so you figure once he figures the game out and it slows down for him, he'll be accurate again. I also have some stats that we'll go over in the Frankie Facts section that speak to this and may be surprising to some folks. And it's good news. So that'll be interesting.
What's up? I want to say hello to John from Jets Today. What's up, John? Nice to have you here, buddy. And he wants to say he thinks that Zach is more on throwing it accurately, not necessarily throwing it away. Just his 2 cents. Well, I think you both have a point there. In the beginning, we thought Zach was doing what? Holding onto the ball too long. He was trying to make stuff out of nothing. He was running around. He was 18 yards behind the line of scrimmage, twisting and turning and, climbing through people's legs and shit. So I think that did calm down, but John's right. He has to work on his accuracy. And then on the other side of that, when he is accurate, and he has been, the receivers got to hold on to the damn ball. I mean, we had like the perfect storm. The offensive line was a train wreck for half of the season. So he's getting chased everywhere. You have a quarterback who doesn't know how to throw it away, and he's inaccurate, throwing it into the dirt and everything else. And then when he does get the ball out, the receivers drop it. I mean, it was like, we couldn't get out of our own way last year. And I think that's all going to continue to improve. That's my thoughts on it. And I'm excited about it, man. I really am. So I saw one in here. Willis is a first-round talent from Robert Killian. I think Pickett goes to the Panthers. Yeah, I think by the time our second pick comes off the board at pick 10, there are going to be 2 quarterbacks taken. That's what I think. And I like that nobody's talking about it. That's what I like, Frankie. I like to be on the outside of things. I don't like everybody knowing the top. Like it's Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. It's clearly. And then we know the San Francisco 49ers just traded 3 first. It was like either Mac Jones or Trey Lance. It was like, okay, this is boring. You know, I like not knowing. That's what I like.
Yeah.
What do you think of this Thibodeau thing, Frankie? What do you know? Do you have the same concerns with Thibodeau that a lot of people are having? I mean, for many months, he was considered the consensus #1 overall player in the draft. I mean, everybody was talking about him being #1. And then all of a sudden now there's talk of him sliding to 10. Like, how can this happen? Do you see that, or you think it's all much to do with nothing?
It's difficult to understand because his production is excellent for his whole college career. His strength is excellent. He put up like 37 or some crazy number of bench press. So he's strong as an ox. And you see his athleticism on the field. So I don't know, but I'm hearing the same things. Daniel Jeremiah is saying the same things. The teams are saying something's the matter with KT. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. It's strange to me. He's the type of guy who could slip and then go to the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And it happens every year too, man. It happens every year. There's some concern with a guy that teams overblow, and then he ends up being a Hall of Fame player. You know,
I mean,
happens all the time.
Look at who's the guy we passed on when we
Warren
took
Sapp.
Brady? Yeah, Sapp. We want Sapp.
Warren Sapp.
Why did he slide? Look at Aaron Rodgers slid. Aaron Rodgers slid in the draft famously, sitting there. Remember him sitting there going,
that's right.
I'm supposed to go first in the draft. It's pick 20. What's going on?
Alex Smith was taken first overall, conversely.
By the 49ers, who were his hometown team. So, and he's obviously 4-time MVP going to the Hall of Fame. So people slip for weird reasons. And so I think KT might be the latest weird reason slip. That's what I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Vafadus corrects me. That's right. Kyler Murray went first overall. After Kyler Murray, it was considered a very weak quarterback class. But you're right. I forgot all about him. So it was Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins was considered by many to be the top quarterback after Kyler Murray. And then the Giants came in and swooped in and stole Daniel Jones. They got freaked out. And that's the thing. Nobody was taking Daniel Jones, but he freaked himself out. That's what Mike McCagnon did. He was sitting there alone in a room, and it was almost as if 15 people were yelling at him to do something. He's, oh, God, I want to trade. I want to trade up and grab Chuma Edoga. You know, and somebody's going to take him. Nobody's taking Chuma Edoga. Don't sweat it. So thanks, Vafadus. John Salty Nuts McGee says, I'm glad we didn't commit $120 million to Tereek. Miami is going to be handcuffed by that deal. $120 million buys a lot of players. What do you think about that side of it? You think $30 million, man? I just thought Devontae Adams getting 28.3. I thought that was insane. Now, I'm not saying he's not good, but that's quarterback money. What do you think of Tyreek Hill getting more than him? What do you make of this, Frankie?
Well, what I make of it is that the owner is getting old. That's what I think. Stephen Ross wants to win, and he wants to win right now, today. I don't care what it takes. And he's putting all of his chips into the middle of the table. He's taking a hell of a risk because he's sacrificed. Like, think about it this year. They don't have any draft picks now, any top premium. So this is a whole year now. They're going to not have that crew of young talent to come replace the people who have to leave eventually. That's a whole year that's missing. It's sort of a donut hole. Right. So you better win right now. And you have a team that won 9 games last year, fired the coach, and fired the whole staff. Now you got a whole new staff coming in. We have Tua Tagovailoa as the quarterback. We have no idea if he's going to be able to run the West Coast offense. We have no idea if McDaniel is going to install the West Coast offense, or is he going to install an RPO type system that they did run last year for Tua so that he could be at least good, which he was. Right. But is he going to run an RPO system? Is he going to run a pro style system, or is he going to run a West Coast offense? We just saw our team do this, install a West Coast offense with all new offensive line and a new quarterback and a new wide receiver and all these people. And we struggled at it. It was very difficult. And now Tua is not a rookie, but So is he going to be able to do that? And then, so if it takes them 2 years, now you wasted 2 years of Tyreek Hill. Now he's not the same receiver at 30 as he was at 28, and you've paid him all this money. And now you couldn't get other players that you could have with that money. And you sacrificed all these draft picks from this year. So you don't have this crop of guys that you should have coming up through the system. So it's a hell of a gamble. It's a high risk, high reward gamble, I think, by the owner, who is getting on in age and is tired of this and wants to win already. And so could it work? It could. I mean, maybe. Well, it'd be a hell of a story next year if Mike McDaniel, goes to the Super Bowl. But I find it hard to believe. But could it happen? Sure. Mike McDaniel is widely regarded as a genius, so maybe he's the next Sean McVay. Young whippersnapper getting to the Super Bowl real soon.
There you go. Maybe
could be. But if it doesn't happen the next 2 years, then it was a terrible gamble that they took.
Yeah. Now, look, any way you slice it, Tereek Hill's a good player. 9 out of 10 Jets fans were hoping that we were the one that won the deal. Let's just make sure we keep that there. Sour grapes causes us to say, I didn't want him anyway. And I get that. I do. I was going back and forth, but like Jeremy, who's in the back right now, Jeremy came right in and said, I don't want it. I don't want it to happen. And here's the reasons why. And so Jeremy's a guy that, he was on the other side. He was that 1 out of 10 that, in my experience, didn't want him. But the truth is, he's a good player. And if him and Waddle can end up being a real, they can work together and function within the system and all that jazz, they're going to be pretty damn good because they have some weapons now. But again, Tua's a question mark. The offensive line's a question mark. They just got Armstead, which is a very, very good move for them. But hey, who knows? Who knows, right? Somebody just wrote in the chat, and I didn't see it. I saw the chat, but I didn't see it out there that Jalen Waddle wants out of Miami. Are you hearing that, Frankie? But real quick, I want to just say Stud City says, I remember when I told GreenBean that Willis will shoot up the draft. I think you remember GreenBean telling you, Stud City. That's what I think. I think you got it mixed up.
I'm not seeing anything just for the Waddle rumor. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter about that. Twitter is usually where these things come out, so I don't know where that's coming from. And I don't know why would Waddle want out? Waddle's on his rookie deal. He's getting a bro. He's getting his brother. He's getting Tyreek Hill. Well, he should be the happiest man on earth. What are you talking about? Why would he want out?
Maybe he doesn't like that. Maybe he wants to be the solo artist.
That's crazy talk. They have Gesicki, they have Waddle, they have Hill. They now have basically the Chiefs East, except they don't have the guy named Patrick Mahomes, who, by the way, is probably the most important out of that whole scenario.
Probably. That's the thing. There was a funny tweet that I put out yesterday. Somebody sent me a picture and I put it out on Twitter. It was a lady like staring like this. She was on her knee, and it said, "That's Tua looking 60 yards downfield, thinking, how the hell am I going to get him this ball?" So Michael Rodriguez, thank you for the super chat. He checks in and he says, "Did a mock draft at work, traded back 4 to 20, wound up with Walker." I'm sure he means Trayvon Walker, Nakobe Dean, Lewis Cine, Pickens, Wyatt, and Cook. All Bulldogs, and didn't realize it. Hey,
just
it's hard not to love them.
The New York Jets select with all their picks the University of Georgia. What?
Yeah, well, that's a funny thing, man. That's right. Who knew, right, Michael? It's like, these are good players. And you look, they're all from the same damn school. That's pretty funny. And I'll tell you what, if I'm being completely frank with you, I wouldn't even be upset. And then you bring them all in and they all know each other and know, look at us. Really,
it's not even unrealistic. Those are all really good players that we would be happy to have any or all of them.
Right.
Actually.
Yeah, that's funny. Let's see. Thomas Cahill. What's up, Thomas? A new member of the Beanbaggers, Thomas Cahill. Thank you, Thomas. It's good to see you here. He says, I smell a trade at 4. Could be a nice haul. And it's interestingly, I see a couple others right in this chat section saying the same thing. Frankie, do you think that Joe Douglas would have the gall? Oh, Jesus, these drinks. The gall to trade away the number 4 overall pick? Guys like Thibodeau and Hamilton and Hutchinson. One of them's going to be there. Yeah, Icky. People love Icky. Sauce. What is all this sauce talk? Would you think that Joe Douglas would trade away the 4th overall pick, and you think it's likely?
It depends. A nice haul depends what the nice haul is. So Joe Douglas knows his value. He knows the values. He's not going to get, bamboozled. We figured that out. He's the one doing the bamboozling, or it's a very fair trade, one or the other. He's either trading you Blake Cashman for a 6th-round pick, or he's trading you Daniel Jones for a starting right guard. Hello, Daniel Brown for a starting right guard. I mean, Joe Douglas did that trade. We got a starting right guard for Daniel Brown. Hello. So, so he's not going to get bamboozled. So it depends what the nice haul is. I hate to keep saying it depends on the context, but he could do anything. That's the beauty of what Joe Douglas has set up. Just think about it this way. We could do any goddamn thing we want. Oof. Because we have the money, we have the picks, and now we've signed for a free agency class where we're not desperate anywhere, even wide receiver, as I've explained. We're not desperate there. We'd like to upgrade. We'd like to get another running back. We need an edge. Okay, maybe we're desperate at safety, you might say, but even with Jordan Whitehead now, I don't think we're desperate there because we got LaMarcus Joyner and Jordan Whitehead. Even if that was the starting duo, it's not horrible. It's not what you want.
We got Wild Goose too.
Well, and don't forget about it. And let me say this about Jordan Whitehead. Do you know where Jordan Whitehead attended school, GreenBean?
The University of Miami.
Incorrect. The University of Pittsburgh. And did you know?
I was going to say that. It was a theme. It was a theme.
Jordan Whitehead is the theme. Jordan Whitehead is the cousin of who? Darrelle Revis. Who went to what school? The University of Pittsburgh. Now, we also have another guy on our squad who is from the University of Pittsburgh. Who is that?
That is, I know. That is Pinnock.
Jason Pinnock. And guess what we're trying to make Jason Pinnock into? A safety. And guess what position Jordan Whitehead plays? Safety. So do you think those two are going to be best buddies, or are they not going to be best buddies? Jason Pinnock is going to basically pin himself to Jordan Whitehead's side and basically learn everything that Jordan Whitehead has to teach him. And
well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, maybe, just maybe, he might be able to be a backup safety.
Maybe. Well, and who knows, man? Maybe they have another friend. Maybe they know someone else, and that because they know him, Joe Douglas is going to trade for them because they're friends, Frank. It's my inside scoop. Lefty Glover, thank you for the super chat. He says, "What's up, fellas? How about this in a move for Claypool? Trade down with the Steelers from 10 to 20 and have the Steelers throw in a second and Claypool. Thoughts? What do you think of that value? Slide down from 10 to 20. You get Chase Claypool and an additional 2nd-round pick. Pittsburgh's 2nd-round pick is, I think, 50. I'll check right now. I think it might be 50 or 52.
Check the value chart. I mean, you got to check the value chart. So there's a value chart.
I'll look right at it.
But looking at it, it seems right. I'd probably do that.
So Pittsburgh, it has 52, and that is 380. Number 10 is 1,300. So you would have to be valuing Chase Claypool as a 920. Is that what that is? So 920 is let's check it out over here.
But we also get a second.
Yeah, I did that. So I did that already. Yeah, I already added that. There's 920 left after the second. So you'd be valuing Chase Claypool as pick 18 in this draft. 18, 19, 17, 18.
I think you do it. That's close.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one, Lefty. That's a pretty good one.
I want an extra 4th. That's what I want. So does Joe Douglas. He wants a 4th and a 6th. That's what he wants. I'll do it, but you got to give me a 4th and a 6th or I'm hanging up the phone.
I mean, I'll tell you why. At some point, GreenBean, it could be that we've filled so many holes. We might be able to have an honest and real conversation about Matt Araiza. I swear.
You think?
It's possible, especially if we pick up extra picks. We could fill so many holes that in the 4th, 5th round, we could be talking about should we take Matt Araiza. I mean, the man's literally a weapon at the punter position. I mean,
they said the same thing about Braden Mann. He's a weapon. He's going to flip the field, and he's good. Yes, he absolutely did.
The highlights of Matt Araiza. He's at his own goal line, and he kicks it to the other goal line. Like, what the hell?
I'm just saying they said the same thing about Mann. Now, I'm not saying that Araiza isn't better. I'm just saying, they said the same thing. We have a young punter. He got his leg ripped off last year. He still punted, booming kicks all over the place. He still tackles. We're good. We're good at punter. That's my thought.
I didn't know that there was that much smoke around Braden Mann as there is around Matt Ariza. I didn't know.
Maybe
that.
Not the same. It might not be to the same level, but it was. It was out there. They said he flips the field. He's a weapon. Greg Williams was the guy pounding the table for him for his defense, blah, 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 blah. We heard it all.
Huh.
I
didn't know that. I didn't know.
Thing is, Matt Ariza is also a place kicker, too. So I don't think he does too many field goals, but he's a strong leg place kicker. So who knows? Maybe he serves that.
Braden Mann does our kickoffs, too.
Yeah, well, we have Matt Amendola. Matt Amendola is still on the team, too. He can kick off. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like, either way, I think we just, what I'd prefer, Frankie, in that type of a scenario? Fucking grab Cade York. Just bring in a kicker already, for God's sakes.
I mean, we might be able to, if we get so many picks, we might be able to do both.
Hey, maybe. We might trade back and think about if we go 4-20. If Pittsburgh is aggressive and they want Malik Willis or whoever, and they get shifty and they want to come up to 4. What do you think you're getting? You're getting next year's first and second. You're getting pick 20, 52, 60, or 74. You're getting all that stuff from them. And Chase Clay. I mean, that is a major jump into the top 5 from 20. So if you do all that, maybe you grab your second punter and your third place kicker, and who knows? Maybe you can do that. I'd still like to see Joe Douglas commit to a kicker. I mean, we don't have Pinheiro under contract. He's a free agent right now. If I have that correctly, I'm pretty sure that he's still a free agent. So currently we have Matt Amendola. That's it. That makes me nervous, Frankie. I'm not in love with that idea. Edward Ziff, thank you for the super chat. He says, we run a 2 tight end and 2 wide receivers. Take Sauce and a 4 at edge. At 4 and 10, edge at 10, wide receiver 35. Yeah, I don't. You know what's funny? And you can correct me if you think I'm wrong here, Frankie. I don't think the Jets are going to grab a cornerback in this draft. I think we're good. I think we're good at cornerback. You focus on the positions that actually need help. You focus on edge, like Ed is saying here with pick 10. But I would move it to 4. You need a linebacker, you need a safety, and you need a whole bunch of other stuff. But we don't need a cornerback. What do you think? You think Sauce is in play at 4 or 10?
I do think so. I'm looking right now, GreenBean. I'm trying to find. People are saying Schefter's tweeting out about Jalen Waddle. I'm not seeing it. So I'm looking at Shefty's tweets. He's not tweeting about it. As far as I can tell, maybe it's somebody else.
Well, Jared says it's a fake Adam Schefter account.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. That's why.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
It would make no sense. It would make no sense. Even if Waddle wanted out, it would make no sense for him to say that now, either about the quarterback or not. That makes no sense. So cornerback. So the thing about cornerback is the only thing that gives me pause is what we talked about last week, I think, GreenBean, which was Richard Sherman's conversation with Sauce Gardner. And saying you would be a perfect fit for the solid defense. And this is Richard Sherman saying that. So that's why I put it in such high regard. He would know. Okay. He would know exactly what. So if we did that, though, then you trade, to my mind, you trade Bryce Hall and try to get a 2 for him, or a 2 and a 5 or something. Bryce Hall has to be pretty valuable on the market. Everybody needs cornerbacks, and Bryce Hall is a good, solid cornerback. So you got to think you can maybe get a 2 for him, the 3 and a 6 or something. So if we did take Sauce, then I think we trade Bryce and recoup a couple of picks and then fill other holes. So
and that would make more sense to me. That would. I mean, there's nothing wrong with upgrading, right? I'm just saying, like, I don't see cornerback as a need. Can you upgrade? Yeah, of course you can. But I think, like, we have a batch of guys. We've taken 5 cornerbacks or really 4, but we also have 2 undrafted free agents. But we have collectively 6 cornerbacks from the last 2 drafts on this team. They're all going second year into this system. They took their lumps together. They did the whole thing. In my opinion, keep them going. You added DJ Reed. Great. We added a vet to the mix. You added Jordan Whitehead to the mix. You got LaMarcus Joyner back. You pick a nice safety in the first couple rounds, and then you focus on the other positions where we are weak and let this cornerback, group ride it out. If they can't next year, cornerback. That's what I see. Now, if they feel Sauce Gardner is perfect, like you're saying Sherman was talking about, okay, yeah. If it's like, hey, man, this is the perfect guy for us. There's nobody in next draft like this, and we want, then that's fine. But I don't see what everybody else is seeing. I think cornerback is the least of our worries right now. Thomas M checks in with a super chat. Thank you, Thomas. He says, super random, but why do you guys think Zach Wilson wasn't a main focus on Jets Drive? Also, love the content. Can I be real honest with you, Thomas? After I was on One Jets Drive, no, I watched I watched a couple episodes. I love One Jets Drive. For the past, probably the last 4 or 5 episodes, I wasn't really able to watch. I couldn't make the time to watch it. So was Zach Wilson never a focus? Do you know that, Frankie? I wouldn't know why they did that.
I don't think he was a main focus. If you remember the episodes, they would focus on C.J. Mosley. They would focus on Keelan Cole and Denzel Mims. And I don't think he was a main focus, and I was perfectly okay with that. We get enough of the quarterback. The quarterback's always doing pressers. He's every game and before the game, he's got to do a press conference, and then after the game, he's got to do a press. So these One Jets Drive episodes, I liked learning about C.J. Mosley's beast basement. Personally,
right.
I want to know about that. I want to see Carl Lawson working out and what the hell that dude's doing to work out. I want to know about Bryce Hall and his little baby and his wife and all that. And I want to know about Corey Davis's new child and all that. So I like all that kind of stuff. That it wasn't about Zach, because we get enough Zach. I don't want Zach overload. Like I don't want every single damn thing to be about Zach Wilson. Is it okay? We get enough of Zach. There's other people on the team.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think Frankie's on to something, Thomas. I think that's probably why we get tons of focus on the quarterback, and they're trying to spread the love. And they always spend some time in training camp and stuff on like the fringe guys. Like we had Greg Dortch and all these guys that they don't even end up making the team, and they do exposés on them. And I like that. It's like getting to know these guys on the bottom of the roster. I think that probably has something to do with it. But if you guys just to jog your memory, I was on One Jets Drive. I'd like you to take a quick look at that real quick before we move on. Here we go.
High pressure in control. Man, that looks great.
Jets! Oh my God, it's so beautiful. 78 degrees, Jets football, and we're winning. That's what's going on today. That's why everybody's so psyched. This isn't no happenstance. This is a guarantee, just like Joe Namath said. See that?
There are a few things in.
There I go, Frankie. Just walking around, filming people without them knowing I'm in people's windows and shit. And they caught me, Frankie. That's really what happened. I didn't say that much, but that's how it goes. So
that's the infamous episode. That's the infamous episode for people who don't know. That's where we say this ain't no happenstance. That's right.
That's where it came from. After this super chat, Frankie, I'm going to get to your focus. I got to bring Y2K on as well. This week we're really into it tonight. It's moving faster than I thought it was. Talking Jets with Tigo checks in. Thank you, Talking Jets with Tigo, for the super chat. He says, what do you think the Jets do at linebacker? We can't run CJ and Q back at linebacker all year. Keep seeing mocks with safety and wide receiver in the second and running back in the third. If that's the case, when do we get a linebacker that can come in and start? Well, I'll take this one first, Frankie. I'm going to say this. My particular opinion, Tigo, is that there's all this talk about Sauce. There's all talk about wide receiver in the first. There's even talk about Linderbaum and all this kind of stuff, which has cooled down, but you know what I'm saying. Icky, Evan Neal, all this stuff. What I see happening is number 4, edge. Number 10, linebacker. That's what I see. That's what I see happening. I would be ecstatic if it doesn't happen that way. Like I said, if they bring in Sauce, I don't dislike the player, so I'm going to be fine with it. If they take Drake London or Garrett, I'm going to be very, very happy with it. But from my take, the way I assess our needs, I'm with you. I think linebacker is a major hole. The only thing that I have to counteract that in my own mind is they did bring in 2 linebackers last year. Now, Jamie and Sherwood, they were very high on. Robert Saleh went as far as to say, trust me, he belongs. So they wanted him to win that starting job. They ended up putting him out there when Jared Davis got injured. So they're going to give him every opportunity to win and maintain that spot. And then they have Hamza Nasruddin as well. Both of those guys were switching from safety, so you got to expect it's going to take a minute, but they like them both. So that's the only thing. I could see them foregoing linebacker with those two guys on their mind. That said, I don't think so. I think this linebacker class has about 5 or 6 guys that are absolutely studly, and I think CJ Mosley having a partner next to him that's a snarling missile would be very, very good for this defense after adding an edge rusher that can get to the damn quarterback. And then Carl Lawson coming back, we might see a major change with this defense. Frankie, do you see it that way? What do you think they're going to do at linebacker?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, Bobby Wagner hasn't signed yet. So if you want to go the vet route, maybe. But although I think he's going back home to LA, but he hasn't signed yet, so maybe. There's that. Yeah, we are getting Sherwood back. Don't forget, one of the things that is important is to judge. You can tell how the Jets feel about their players by what they do with them. So, and don't forget, they gave Jamie Sherwood that one game CJ's was injured. They gave him the green dot helmet. You don't give that to you don't give that to just anybody. Okay.
Now explain, Frankie. There's a lot of people that probably don't know what that is. So the green dot is
the helmet where you have the speakers inside of the helmet so you can hear the DC. So you're basically the quarterback of the defense. You hear the call and then you relay it to everybody. And they gave it to a rookie, Jamie Sherwood. Now that's impressive to me. So that tells you they were very impressed with his development so far until he got hurt. And whereas with Hamza Nasruddin, who basically came in the same time, received the same coaching, and did not get any kind of green dot helmet, and in fact didn't even get on the field as a linebacker and was on special teams 95% of the time.
Correct.
So
he did get on the field as a linebacker one game in the beginning. He got hurt, but I'm with you.
He didn't play particularly well. He got hurt. It didn't go well, but that doesn't mean he can't develop. He could certainly develop, and Nasruddin still might be good. We don't know. So that's that. And I'll give you another name to watch in the draft is Leo Chenal. So Leo Chenal is a guy who's going up draft boards, and he has production. He has explosiveness. This good dude is a stud.
Well, we're going to talk about Leo Chenal in just a minute after we just make known that Dom C is assuming that you are now on the payroll at Pitt, Frankie. I got to say, I was thinking the same thing. You seem to be a little bit Pittsburghy tonight.
Well, I happen to live here, and so I have a little bit of a bias. I see the training facility every day, so I kind of think about them probably more than
I bet
the normal person. But
now, Frankie, have you been to Beato's Pizza?
Beato's? No.
Yeah, that's the place I went. It's the traditional. Yeah, they cook the crust and the sauce, and then they take the cheese cold when you order it. You don't order slices there. You order cuts. You say, I'll have 3 cuts. 5 cuts, 12 cuts. I ordered 25 cuts, I think it was, for my kids and wife and everybody. But so you get the cuts. The crust and sauce are hot. They take the cheese and toppings and throw it on there cold, and then they close the box and it kind of melts before your eyes, and you eat it and it's still kind of cold, and it was good. I did a whole review on it, Frank. You haven't been there, huh?
No, I have not, but I might order from them. I tend to do the Grubhub type of thing.
Well, here you go. Well, that's going to kind of blow it because you don't get the cold. By the time it comes to you, you're going to have a slice of fucking pizza. That's what it's going to be. So I see a couple more super chats. We are going to get to them. I promise you, starting with Edward Ziff. But thank you, Dom. I appreciate it, buddy. But right now, Frankie's got some goodies lined up for you, and we are going to get into his segment with the brand new touch to his intro. Let's get into Frankie's Facts.
Frankie's Facts.
What do you think? You like it?
At first, I was going, "What? This is the same exact thing."
Come on, that's me, right? That's my voice.
I thought it was your wife, GreenBean, but I guess not.
It could have been.
So I have 2 things: one, Zach Wilson, and another one on running backs. So we were talking a bit about Zach Wilson earlier, and so I thought I'd start with Zach. So from this is from Next Gen Stats. Okay, they measure something called aggressiveness percentage. How aggressive is a quarterback? And this is one of the things we heard about Zach Wilson last year. He's too aggressive. He won't take a check down. He's super aggressive. So where did Zach Wilson rank? Let's put it out to the chat. Where do people out of 35 qualified quarterbacks, how aggressive Number 1 would be the most aggressive. 35 would be the least aggressive. And aggressiveness is defined by the amount of passing attempts a quarterback makes that are into tight coverage where there is a defender within 1 yard or less of the receiver at the time of completion or incompletion. So where do people think Zach Wilson ranked from 1 to 35 on aggressiveness? Super aggressive or non-aggressive?
Well, interesting. If I may, they also said that Zach Wilson had a low percentage of turnover-worthy throws. So he was kind of safe, even in addition to what you were saying, a lot of perception about it. I'm going to say he's 20th.
We do have a winner in the chat. A couple of people are right on the money, and I think some of these people probably watched my live stream because I went over these numbers previously. So if you did
Cheating
that,
bastards,
like Paul, I think you might have seen me yesterday. He was 30th out of 35, so he was not very aggressive.
Amazing.
And that doesn't mean, so if you look at the aggressive percentages, the elite quarterbacks are sprinkled throughout. Some are safe, some are aggressive. So there's no correlation between success. But just to counter the argument that he never took a check down or that he was super aggressive, no, he was pretty safe in his throws.
Wow.
Yeah.
See that? Isn't it interesting, like how we perceive things, but what's actually going on? And that's where these next gen and PFF stuff, like relying on them solely is ill-advised, but including them in what you're trying to compile for an overall view is kind of interesting. It definitely adds to what you're trying to, when you're trying to get a realistic view of what a player actually does out there.
Right. And the next stat will actually highlight that even more. So did you know that Zach Wilson led the league in something? He led the league. He was number 1 at something. Did you know that, GreenBean?
Yes. Number 1 in cheerleaders, baby. That's what he's number 1 in.
He was absolutely number 1 in the league in the difference between his expected completion percentage and his actual completion percentage.
Expected completion percentage and his actual. So what is that, Frankie?
So the expected completion percentage is determined by what the completion percentage is expected to be based on such factors as the receiver separation from the nearest defender, where the receiver is on the field, the separation the passer had at the time of the throw from the nearest pass rusher, and more. So they calculate how, based on all those factors, what your completion percentage should be. And then you look at that versus what it actually was. So this is, in a sense, is negative. So he led the league, but it's kind of negative. You say, wait a minute, because his expected completion percentage was 65.9%.
And he was 59, wasn't he?
And his completion percentage was 55. So wait a minute, that's bad. Except somebody has it, Paul has it in the chat. Except then you factor in the fact that he also led the league in completable passes dropped. And that accounts for a large percentage of that difference because he had it. You should have completed it, but Tyler Croft dropped it, and Ryan Griffin dropped it, and Johnson dropped it,
and Corey Davis.
Corey Davis dropped the ball. So when you look at that, if not for the drops, and he did have a bunch of bad throws, don't get me wrong. He had some dirt balls, he had some overthrow, he had a lot of, every quarterback has bad throws, right? But if he reduces his bad throws by, let's say, half, which seems reasonable, and we get a normal average number of drops instead of leading the league, he probably is going to be right around 64, 65, 66%. And I have often said the magic number for Zach Wilson for next year and for the success of the Jets is 65% because of all the other things he brings to the table. And that's a similar thing for Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields as well.
Amazing. Yeah, man. If you look at guys like, I just did a whole thing on Matt Ryan today. I looked at his career to do a comparison of quarterback trades, to compare to Sam Darnold. And Matt Ryan has just under a 69 for his career. He's got almost 60,000 yards and 400 touchdowns and all that kind of shit. And he's a 68.7 or some shit like that, I think it was. So if Zach Wilson can get up to 65 this year, we're going to be okay. And a lot of that does have to do with the receivers catching the ball. I mean, there was an inordinate amount of drops, not to take anything from him, his mistakes, but that doesn't help.
Right. And I think he'll cut down those mistakes some. I mean, he's probably not going to make as many, you'd have to think. I mean, you never know, though. Maybe he will. Maybe they'll increase. I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
So for part 2, let's do a little rookie running back comparison. So which
Okay.
one of these running backs would you have? Which one of these teams would you rather be? Team 1 took a running back in round 1 who wound up having 4.4 yards per touch. So yards per touch combines carries and receiving.
Right,
yards
correct.
per touch. So the round 1 running back from last year had 4.4 yards per touch. Another team took a running back in round 2 who had a 5.0 yards per touch last year.
So round 4 was 4.4. Round 2 was 5.
No, round 1 was 4.4. The
Gotcha.
round 1 running back was 4.4. The round 2 running back is 5.0 yards per touch. The round 4 running back was 5.3 yards per touch. And then another round 4 running back, 5.0 yards per touch. So which team came out the best out of all these 4?
I'm going to have to say the round 4.
The round 4, the guy with the highest yards per touch, his name happens to be Michael
Carter.
Yeah! And that means we didn't have to waste a first-round pick just to get 4.4 yards out of Najee Harris. We got 5.3 out of Michael Carter, and that allowed us, because of opportunity cost, to get Elijah Moore because he was taken in round 2, and allowed us to get Zach and AVT and all that stuff. So in other words, the Steelers could have done much better by taking, say, an offensive lineman in round 1 and then gotten the same or better production from a running back in round 2 or 4 or the last one is Ramondre Stevenson, who also did really well for the Patriots. So,
well, can I ask you though, and this might skew the stats a little bit, Najee Harris versus Michael Carter touches overall, how many? Like, is Najee Harris have 3 times the touches?
Well, that's what it is. Yeah. So Najee Harris was a Pro Bowler. So everybody might say, well, wait a minute. Najee Harris went to the damn Pro Bowl. What are you talking about, Frankie? Well, he got 307 carries, to get 1,200 yards. Michael Carter had half that, and he had half the yardage. He would have basically had the same yardage as Najee Harris if he had the same amount of carries, if the averages, continued, obviously. So,
but also the averages tend to go down with the more opportunities that you add. Generally speaking, averages tend to go down when you add more to the mix. It's all the overall goes up, but the average tends to go down a lot of the time. But that's interesting.
That would be the argument. Okay, that's a good argument. That's an argument against this. You could say, well, wait a minute. He had a big workload, so of course it's not as big. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm setting up my future point here.
But still interesting, I think that you can get similar production. Now my argument to that would be running back to the second round running back is named Javonte Williams, same backfield in college as Michael Carter.
Correct. He
had 5 yards per touch. He played in 17 games and had a similar workload, although a little less to Najee. So, and he was 5.0 yards per touch as opposed to 4.4. And had a higher yards per carry. Najee Harris only had 3.9 yards per carry on the ground.
Interesting. Yeah. The good thing with Najee, though, is that a lot of that, one of the major plights of the Pittsburgh Steelers these last 2 years has been their offensive line. We've had some retirements, some injuries. So they've had quite a bit of issues on their O-line these past couple of years. So Najee did a lot of that work by himself. You know what I mean? True. Like he worked for it.
Then I'll also give you, they also had noodle arm Ben Roethlisberger, who dropped it off to Najee Harris a ton more than you would want to. And so he got a lot of his yards because of that as well.
Gotcha. But the point, still remains is that these days when, using a premium asset on a first round running back, where years past, it was made all the sense in the world. That was the first guy you wanted after you had your quarterback. We need a quarterback and a running back. That's what we need to make this offense go. Like Parcells said, a running back touches the ball 25 to 30 times a game. A wide receiver touches it 5 to 10. Who do you think I value more? And that was the justification for Curtis Martin when he made the trade. He said, he's the most valuable guy on the team next to the quarterback. That is not necessarily the case anymore. Even though they touch the ball still just as much as they used to, they don't last as long anymore. And because years ago, you saw running backs 10-year careers were normal. They were the bell cow for 10 years. Now it's like 3-4 years and you're jettisoned because there's a new guy coming in. Very interesting. But so that's the case for taking a running back a little bit later in the draft. You can get similar production like we saw with Michael Carter. If he didn't get injured, Michael Carter would have been an absolute beast for us last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people are saying I'm forgetting about the Jags' second pick in the first round. I'm not forgetting. Travis Etienne didn't play. So how am I going to include him, Rusty? And
he's easy to forget.
He's easy to forget. But there was also, don't forget, there was also Trey Sermon taken in the third round. Terrible pick by the 49ers. There was also a guy taken right before the Patriots took Stevenson, whose name I cannot pronounce, by the Vikings, who I don't even know who he is. That was a third round pick. But then the 49ers came back and took, I think it's Elijah Mitchell, I could be wrong, in the sixth round, who had like 900 yards. So they totally whiffed on Trey Sermon, but then they hit it in the sixth round. So these running backs, I mean, you just, who knows?
Fantastic. So that's really interesting. Now, we are a little bit behind tonight, so I'm going to let everybody know we're probably going to go long. I hope you don't mind. I hope you are going to just hang with us. I have so much shit on the docket that it's not just obligatory stuff. It's stuff I want to give to you guys, starting with, I'm going to bring Watu on. Oh, wait, Frankie, was Frankie's tracks done? Or you want to do Leo Chanel? Okay, awesome. I love it. And that's a good case. And because I want to talk to Frankie and Watu about the potential of, and really the supporting thought process behind using one of our seconds on a running back. I want to get to that, but I want to bring Watu on. He's got a little bit of comparisons for running backs versus wide receivers and how we're going to value that. Everybody out there tends to lean toward wide receiver. We need a wide receiver, We're going to take a little bit of a deeper look on how each position impacts the game in recent drafts going into the NFL as well. So I'm going to bring Watu on, but we're going to do some super chats, catch up, and then we'll go into Watu segment. What's up there, buddy? How you doing?
Doing fantastic. How are we doing tonight, gentlemen?
Oh, we're so good. Frankie, you good?
I'm good, man.
I didn't mean to speak for you. I'm good. I'm 2 energy drinks in. I'm going to be up till fucking 6 a.m. and then ruin tomorrow. That's how it goes. But Watu, bear with me. I'm going to get to some super chats. These guys have been waiting a long time. Edward Ziff, thank you, my friend. He says Sauce, Hall, Eccles, and Michael Carter II will cause coverage sacks. So, but that's an interesting thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
You forgot someone.
Yeah, he did.
We picked up an $11 million cornerback. You forgot.
Yeah, right. You forgot one. But here's the thing. There are 2 schools of thought. One is you get the cornerbacks locked down, the receivers can't do anything, and therefore your defensive line has more time to get to the quarterback. And that's what we've subscribed to for a very long time. The only time it really worked for us was during Rex Ryan era when we had Darrelle Revis, Cromartie, and on and on and on. The other school of thought, which is where Saleh and it seems like Joe Douglas come from, is that the defensive line, you cause havoc up there and your cornerbacks don't need to cover as long. And I think that's what we're going to go and do. Like a lot of people are saying, now that Miami has Waddle and Tereek Hill, we have to go cornerback. That's very responsive. That's behind the 8 ball thinking. Again, not saying they're not going to go cornerback, but I still think the focus should be killing Tua. You get to Tua, you rattle Tua, and those guys can run around all day long and they can't do a damn thing because their success is predicated on Tua having the time to get the ball out. And our cornerbacks probably can cover for 2.8 seconds when covering for 5 seconds until the sloppy, fat, and lazy, slow defensive line tries to get the Jordan Jenkins of the world to take their sweet-ass time getting to the quarterback. That's significantly harder. Now, there's a lot of people that do that, Ed, and that's what we've done for a long time. I do think we're going to see a switch and heading toward the creating havoc to aid the defensive backfield. John Zabrowski, thank you, sir. He says, Sauce, 3 years, 0 touchdowns allowed, 6'3", 4'4", Yeah, we know, John. We know.
Everybody here loves Sauce. Don't get it twisted. We love Sauce.
Yeah, we know.
Love Sauce. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with Sauce Gardner. Again, it's just like the way I see it, and I know I'm in the minority. I'm aware. The way I see it is that there's one area that we've put a lot of assets into and we actually got success out of is our cornerback group. And I just don't see the wisdom in sticking another cornerback in there and kind of undo, unless they hate they're like Eccles and Hall suck. If that's what they think, then yes. I don't think that's the case. I think let them get to year 2 in the system. We did add like Frankie said, an $11 million cornerback. He's pretty good, top 10 statistically from PFF and all that jazz. So let's see what he does to the group. Let's use our resources to focus on the pass rush, and then and we can go that way. Again, like Frankie said, nobody here is saying Sauce sucks. Nobody. Not even me, believe it or not. I know a lot of people hear that when I say I don't want to. He's an asshole. He says Sauce sucks. That's not the case. I promise you this. I promise. Let me get to another super chat here. Ablab Studios. Thank you. What a pink super chat. I didn't even know they had such a thing. So thank you. I really do appreciate the super chat, Ablab Studios. GreenBean, Frankie from Flatbush. I'm from Queens, the Shea Days. Do you think there is an edge to take at 4 other than Kayvon Thibodeau? If so, who? What's the likelihood percentage-wise of JD doubling D-line and or wide receiver in the draft? Love you guys. Go Jets. Well, just a fantastic question. Now, I'll start it. I'll turn it over to Frankie and see. And Watch UK probably has a thought as well. Number one, I think there are plenty. There are 3 or 4 after Hutchinson and Thibodeau that I think are worthy of taking with the 4th pick. Now, will the Jets feel that way? I don't know. They probably don't. I happen to like Jermaine Johnson and Karlaftis more than I like Trayvon Walker. I like Trayvon Walker. If that was your guy, I'd feel very good about it. I trust their assessment of the D-line. But I think if Kayvon Thibodeau and Hutchinson are gone, that does not mean that we're not going to take an edge. I do think that there's a likelihood that they would take Hamilton and wait till 10 for Karlaftis, Jermaine Johnson, or Trayvon Walker, because one of them is going to be there. So it kind of gets smart for me that way. And I think Hamilton's a better pick for our system and defense than the cornerback right now. Again, me. So I think it's very possible that we still take an edge rusher at 4. And doubling D-line, dude, nothing would make me happier than Kayvon Thibodeau at 4 and like Boye Mafe in this. I would love it. Love it, man. Don't worry. We got Bryce Huff. Well, if Bryce Huff can't beat out Boye Mafe, then he doesn't believe that he doesn't belong. Like, that's the way I see it, man. Upgrade this defensive line. It's the most important thing on this whole entire defense. Get fierce, ferocious guys in there that can scare the shit out of quarterbacks, and then we're good. I think there's a strong possibility that we might see that. You might see a defensive tackle instead of 2 edge rushers. You might see a Perion Winfrey or any of these guys, come in for a D tackle. But I think defensive line there's probably a good chance that they do that. And wide receiver, I think is a long shot that they'll double. Joe Douglas hasn't done it yet, so I don't know, maybe. But so far, he's picked a wide receiver in both of the second-round drafts that he's had. He's also picked a running back in both 4th rounds that he's had. So I think that's probably likely that we'll see a little bit more of that. But I don't know if doubling on wide receiver is all that likely. What do you think, Frankie?
Well, yeah, I think there's 5 guys now with Ojabo's injury. He kind of drops back, but there's really 5 the way I see it. KT Hutch, Trayvon Walker, Karlaftis, Jermaine Johnson. Those are guys who are going to be top half of the draft one way or the other. I would like to see a guy like Perion Winfrey in the round 2. Give me a Perion Winfrey, because we need to upgrade from Nathan Shepard. We still have right now, Nathan Shepard is in our plans to play for some reason. Yeah, so I would like a Perion Winfrey. I would even look for a guy like Matt Henningsen from Wisconsin. This guy ran a 7.023 cone, 7.023 cone for a defensive lineman. And that's a guy, maybe you could get him in the 5th round. I would even think about tripling down. How about that? Maybe. So, you know, those are guys. I mean, people like Travis Jones. I don't know if Travis Jones is as good of a fit. Can he play the 3 tech? It would be the question for Travis Jones. I think he's more of a 0 tech. But there's another guy. But somebody like that, and I like doubling or even tripling down. So there's that, and then and or wide receiver in the draft. Yeah, so we will pick a wide receiver in the draft almost certainly. It's just a matter of where. I love Jahan Dotson, by the way. If we could get Jahan Dotson in round 2, which maybe we can't, I would be thrilled with Jahan Dotson.
Yeah,
that type of guy in round 2. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll make it, but I'm just holding on to this George Pickens in the 2nd thing. I'd love it. Watch UK. What do you think? Doubling on defensive line, doubling on wide receiver. How do you see it?
I definitely think we're doubling down on defensive line if that defensive line from the question does include defensive tackle. the more time goes by, the more I'm convinced that by the end of day 2, we will have a new defensive tackle on our roster. It may be a Travis Jones. It may be Devontae Wyatt, who I've been begging the drum for. Maybe we will go late. I saw somebody in the chat mention somebody who I like late, and that's John Ridgeway. That's a guy who I'm very interested in drafting late if you're looking for a sleeper at defensive tackle. But
interesting. I'm not all that up on him. I know I'm all about Henningsen. Interesting. I got to look at him.
I want one guy in this defensive line who's run focused first, because it stands to reason to me that if your offense is based around trying to establish the run, well, you're also going to prioritize stopping the run, and we did not do that well at all last year. Nathan Shepard's not known for that. Quinn Williams is probably our best run defender in all seriousness. And if we move JFM back inside, well, that's more to take advantage of his pass rushing skills. So for me, I've been begging the drum on this for like 2 months. I want a defensive tackle at some point during this draft. I can't imagine they get out of the first round without taking an edge, whoever it might be. At the end of the day, I'm starting to think more and more that Thibodeau is just the latest prospect who certain teams are trying to talk down on in the hopes that he will drop.
He'll slide. Yeah, right. There's a lot to be said for that, Y2K. I'll tell you.
Yeah, instead of it starting the week of the draft, it's starting months before the draft. So to me, I'm not expecting Hutch or Thibodeau. I'm still thinking more and more it's probably going to be Jermaine Johnson. I don't know about Trayvon Walker. I think he's more of a how would you describe it? More of a two-way defensive end, plays the run very well, but I don't think he has that explosiveness that I would want from a pass rusher. Pass rushing defensive end. That's my worries with Walker. And wide receiver, I never thought I'd want to see Keelan Cole back, but at this point, I'm like, we need a reliable 4 or 5 receiver. I'm ready to take Keelan Cole back for one more year, and let's see how many more fun videos he could create for One Jets Drive. I'm fine with it.
There you go. Well, and I'll let everybody know we're only 2 behind on the comp picks right now. If we lose 2 more players, every other free agent after that we lose, we will be getting or qualify at least for a comp pick. We are close. We have not been this close in a long time, my friend. So let's see how this goes. So thanks, AbLab Studios. I appreciate it, man. Robbie checks in. He says, anyone get a kick out of Hill calling Tua accurate? Anybody? I didn't even hear that. Did he say that? He said, Tua's an accurate quarterback. I think he's gonna have a little bit of learning curve.
Tua is an accurate quarterback. Look at his completion percentage. What's wrong with that? He is accurate. The problem with Tua is he can't throw it.
Arm strength.
They call him 2-yard Tua. So that's a problem. Are you going to really do quick game all the time with Tua the whole time? I mean, maybe that's what they're going to do. But the problem is he can't get it down the field. That's just probably. He is accurate. He's always been accurate.
Watch 20 screens a game from Miami. They'll be doing screen after screen after screen.
You know what? It worked. We saw that every game.
Yeah,
we saw it every game. It was like we couldn't do shit against the screen last year. It was the worst thing in the world to watch. It was like, come on already. They're just dumping it off to tight ends and running backs. So, I didn't see it, but hey, look, again, just like he said, the Jets, when he's down there in Miami, it's like anybody going anywhere is going to talk up their teammates. I mean, I think that's what should happen, quite frankly. But again, I think there's going to be a little bit of a curve with Tua. If they can protect him, it's a whole different story. They did bring on Teron Armstead, who's an upgrade, but I don't know how that's going to go down there. So who knows? What's the name? Tyreek Hill might end up getting frustrated. There were rumors coming out of KC that he did complain a lot when he didn't get the ball. He talked to Mahomes. He was in Mahomes' ear all the time, telling him how open he was and stuff like that. So I don't know how real that is. I could see it, but who knows? Stephen Calendrillo checks in. Thank you for the super chat. He says, with 2 new tight ends the Jets picked up, do you think that alone will get Zach to over 60% passing? And what would have been a bigger help to Zach, the 2 tight end additions, or if they got Hill? So, Frankie, I'll throw this to you because you were kind of just talking about this. Zach's potential percentage with how the drops impacted that. Ryan Griffin was some of the drops. Ty Johnson was a lot of the drops. Corey Davis. How do you think the 2 tight ends will impact Zach's completion percentage? And do you think Hill would have been better or the 2 tight ends?
If I had to pick, I'd probably actually pick the 2 tight ends for completion percentage. Now, for explosive plays, then you'd say Hill was the bigger factor because he's an explosive play waiting to happen from the time he wakes up. But in terms of completion percentage, you want those security blankets, and now we got 2 of them. We didn't have any before. We had no security blankets whatsoever. And now we got 2 of them. We got 2 guys who are going to catch the ball from tight end, and that's a great thing. And don't forget, it's year 2 in the system. Zach is 22 years old. He's the youngest. He's tied for being the youngest quarterback in the whole AFC. 22. He's a young rookie. Last year was supposed to be his senior year at BYU, but instead he was in the NFL playing against Phil Snow and Vic Fangio and Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel and Dennis Allen and the Eagles and the Buccaneers and all these people. And he was 21 years old and was supposed to be a senior at BYU. You got to think that's going to help. You got to think so. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for optimism. You never know. Maybe he'll stink on ice. I don't know. But there's a lot of reasons, statistical ones. I gave you some there. And then the circumstances. And on top of everything, Greg Knapp died last year. Coach Knapp died right before the damn season started, which is a tragedy on many levels, but it also has an effect on Zach Wilson too. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's a big one that a lot of people, I mean, we just skirted over it a lot, but don't forget, we had a whole slew of rookie coaches going from the head coach to the offensive coordinator to the quarterback coach. Greg Knapp was the vet in the room. He was the widely regarded, offensive mind, the wise old sage. Everybody from Peyton Manning on said the guy was major impact in their career, and he's just one of the best, and he died. So that had to be overcome. We brought Matt Cavanaugh on to try to replace it. It took months for him to get, to gel with everybody. There was a lot going on last year. I think that's a very, very good point. And I have to say too, and I'll move on to the next super chat, but I think Frankie's right, and that clarification is important, Steve. And if we're talking about explosive plays and maybe big, just potential to win the game kind of a thing, I think Tereek Hill's about as high up there as you can get. But as far as that ball control, completion percentage thing would go, I think the 2 tight ends are about as good as you can ever ask for. Both of them are catchers and blockers, man. That's what we want. So V-Man checks it.
Yeah, you can't leave out the blocking, and also his energy and leadership that he brings to the table. You can't overlook that either.
That's right. The blocking's huge, man. I mean, that's the whole thing. Having guys that can legitimately block in line and then peel off and be that reliable safety outlet. Zach didn't have that last year. And then when he thought he did, they were dropping it. Ty Johnson's dropping it. Griffin's dropping it. It was a train wreck.
And let me just say, too, these are not excuses. Somebody's talking about excuses are for losers and all this stuff in the chat. These are facts.
Yeah, these are facts. Right. What are you going to I mean, and that's the thing, Frankie, I'm sorry. And that's the thing. We talked about Zach Wilson throwing dirt balls and all the shit. We did all that. Right. We're talking about, here's the thing. You got to talk about both sides. If you're going to present an argument, and you're trying to be realistic, you present both sides. But when somebody's on one side, they only think of their side, and then everything else is opposing. It's not opposing. We're talking about the reality of our situation last year. These are facts. These are real things that happened. That said, Zach had a very, very hard time. He was sloppy, erratic, and all that kind of shit. And there were times where he had a clean pocket and everything was right there. The guy's wide open. He throws it into his feet, So there's all that stuff going on.
That's a mistake. Almost all of those things have been improved this year. And so now if Zach Wilson does the same thing this year as he did last year, well, then you got to go, okay, something's wrong. Something's wrong because all of that stuff has been improved. So
correct. Well said, Frankie. I'll tell you, Frankie says things well. V-Man, thank you, V-Man. He checking in. He says, fun fact, last time the Sea Mammals made a Super Bowl, Pink Floyd was trying to record an album using rubber bands. Who would want to go there? Well, Pink Floyd wrote, so Ummagumma? Yeah, I think he's talking about Ummagumma. Yeah, that's a good album. I like Ummagumma.
I don't know that album, but I know V-Man is a guitarist. V-Man, I think you're a guitarist, right? So you probably know more than most.
Yeah, V-Man knows the deal. Well, and that's the thing. People forget. Now, everybody likes to talk about the Jets. We haven't won shit since 1969. The last time the Dolphins did it was 3 years later. That's it. You know, it's been since 72. I was born in 72. So I'm not as young as you guys think. I know you think I'm in my 20s, but it's not the case. I appreciate the compliments. I do. All right, let's get to this. I think it's, what is this? Mumtaz, I think. Let me see. Hey, Mumtaz checking in. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. He says, GreenBean, the Tereek Hill almost trade put me in shock. That stuff only makes sense for teams thinking they are one wide receiver away from the Super Bowl, not for a team with a barren roster trying to rebuild. Also, we had fourth worst run D and lost Fadu Kasi. We need a defensive tackle. So there's a lot there. Watu-K, what do you think about what he said about the Tereek Hill kind of taking him by surprise, that almost trade there? And number one, he doesn't seem like a Joe Douglas guy. I mean, with his background and everything, he just doesn't seem to be of the same cut that a lot of the guys they bring in. And then in addition to that, he seems like a guy that you might want to bring in when you're one wide receiver away. Why do you think Joe Douglas went that way? Were you surprised?
The whole saga was over in basically 1 hour. Like, you know, it went from nothing to the ultimate hope to hopes being completely dashed. And to me, Joe Douglas is seeing that all these other teams in the AFC are making these enormous moves. All these great players are switching from the NFC to the AFC. We could go down a list of names, quarterbacks and non-quarterbacks alike. He was looking for an opportunity to make a difference because he knows his plan is working. He's trusting his plan of building it slowly, building it correctly, not overpaying, building through the draft. But all of a sudden, some of these teams who we thought were just decent, just meh teams who didn't make the playoffs, all of a sudden are getting some pretty fantastic players. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, on and on we can go. Now Tyreek Hill. He was looking at Tyreek Hill as that difference maker. And, you know, we don't have a lot of huge contracts on the books. I mean, going into free agency, I think we had 7 players making $10 million or more for the season. It's not a whole lot. And with the cap rising, you know, Joe Douglas was thinking, you know, this is our opportunity to add a real difference maker, change our perception around the league, because Tyreek Hill has some mad respect around the league, no doubt about that. That would also help to change the perception. I guarantee you the Johnson brothers were begging him to get that deal done.
Yeah.
No doubt.
That's a funny thing, right, man? I think, like we talked about before, it's not necessarily Joe Douglas is out there begging for a wide receiver. He saw an opportunity to get a game-changing player. That's what it was. If it was another position, equal talent, he might have been going for him too. I think it was an opportunity, like Watu-K said, to bring in an electric, regarded player around the league. It's a rare opportunity to get that going, and he did it. Frankie, what do you think about the run defense Fadu Kasi thing? Do you think we need a defensive tackle, or do you think Rankins, JFM, Quinnen, Shepard, Jonathan Marshall, you think we're okay?
Yeah,
well, we need a defensive tackle. We need edge. We need defensive tackle. We also need these things called linebackers. Have you heard of them? They make a lot of tackles. They tackle people. They're supposed to be in their run fits. Hello, Jared Davis. You're not supposed to be over here doing whatever the hell Jared Davis was doing. You're supposed to be in your run fit, it's called. And those people make tackles too for the run game. And so, now Sherwood got injured. That sucked. And Hamza didn't develop as we had hoped. But we'll see. And we might add one in the draft. I'd love to get Leo Schnall. We might, maybe we could get Bobby Wagner. That'd be wonderful, but we probably can't. But we also need better linebackers. So we need a defensive tackle, but we also need better linebacking play also as well.
Correct. Yeah. And I think we're going to bring one in too. And don't forget, Kyle Phillips is still out there. I'd like to see him brought back. He's probably trying to
bring him back for $2.5 million. Somebody explain that to me. Why we didn't bring back Kyle Phillips for $2.5 million?
Well,
what was that
I think maybe he's out there. He's trying to work out some more money, man. See how the free agent period works out. He wasn't going to be part of the first wave. You know that.
But he was an RFI. He was an RFA. We could have kept him on a tender. I don't get it. A $2.5 million tender. That's it.
Instead, we had to rush out and give Jacob Martin 3 3-year contracts.
And I like Jacob Martin. That was one shouldn't preclude the other. I mean, $2.5 million shouldn't preclude us from doing anything. Yeah, we bring Shepard back.
Shepard was the issue,
and we can't have Kyle Phillips. What? I don't get it. That was
weird. I want to talk to Royal Resonance. Listen, Pink Floyd's worst album is better than most albums. I love Amagama. And I'm with you that Amagama is where, what about Obscured by Clouds and all? I mean, there's a lot of shit out there, man. And, The early Pink Floyd is very, very different. Ummagumma was experimental. You got to know what you're listening to. They were frying bacon and recording it, and animals and farm animals. It was a very interesting album, and I don't appreciate you talking about Pink Floyd that way, Royal Resonance.
I want to address PG. He keeps mentioning Jeremiah Moon, and I think this is a good point, PG. Just this Jeremiah Moon, dude, I just looked at him, has a 40.5-inch vertical, and his broad jump's 11.1. That's insane.
PG Hudson?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's he talking about?
Moon. So that kid is interesting. And I wonder, where do you think, PG, he's going to go? Like, can we get him as a UDFA?
6'5", 245 linebacker. I had to look up what position he was, to be honest.
What's his name?
Jeremiah Moon out of Florida. An 11.1 broad jump is crazy.
Yeah, it is. Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. Can we not freak out? By the way, that's where Ja'Kai Polite. I'm sure there's somebody in the chat who's thinking, "Oh no, we can't take another Florida defensive player ever again."
We took Ja'Kai Polite in the 3rd round. So if we could get this kid in the 5th, I don't know where. PG, maybe you know where he's going to go.
Ooh, all right.
It's not that we just took Ja'Kai Polite. It's that we took Jabari Zuniga after him, and 9 out of every 10 Jets fan can't stand a Jabari Zuniga. So we're looking like. Zuniga literally replaced Polite. He was the guy coming in after him. So we took 2 of them guys in a row from Florida, and neither one has amounted to very much.
We shouldn't let the sunk costs prevent us from getting a kid who seems to be super explosive. I mean, especially if we can get him late. I mean, this is a perfect kid to take a flyer on right here.
I'm gonna scare you with one fact about him. Suffered season-ending injuries in 2016, 2019, and 2020.
Well. He also has an 83-inch wingspan. He has an 83.5-inch wingspan. That's in this kid, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe those injuries will keep him from getting drafted, and we can grab him. That's a perfect kid to take a flyer on.
I'll take a flyer on him, but I mean, then again, we don't have a 6th round or a 7th round pick, so
we're
getting back into the bottom of that draft. I'm not thinking
we trade Denzel Mims. We'll get all the 6th round picks we want.
I'm going to tell you, man. Denzel Mims is going to have himself a career. Denzel Mims, you'll see. Denzel Mims is fine. Everybody's nuts. Now, if you can get a 2nd or 3rd for him, and hey, okay. Especially if this regime just doesn't like him, they just he's not gelling. That's fine. Go get something for him. But I think Denzel Mims is going to be fine, and I don't care that people don't agree with me. I'm staying strong right here. I'm standing here. You come on. So V-Man checks back in. He wants to clarify some things. He says, no, it's their failed household object album. They only completed 2 tracks the hard way and wine glasses. The track Wine Glasses was used for the opening of Shine On You Crazy Diamond. So V-Man is what we call upping it. He's saying, no.
I knew this was a can of worms with V-Man. I knew he was going to bring some obscure knowledge to the table when we started this.
Right.
Yeah,
so, well, thank you, V-Man.
300 people in the chat who have no idea what's going on right now.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a little bit of Pink Floyd lore. I'm somewhat of a Pink Floyd lorist myself. I love Pink Floyd, all incarnations. So anyway, PG's checking back in. He says, check the tape. Check the tape, man. Give us 2 years. So, he's not Lorenzo Malden. Oh, that was a good pick, wasn't it? That was such a good draft. Lorenzo Malden. So, all right, Y2K. Now, again, we're going long tonight. I hope you guys are enjoying it. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna keep going. Y2K did some research, and I really wanted to show you guys, and I'm very interested. So, we're gonna look at maybe the value of the team, to the team, that running backs in recent drafts. Was it last year's draft, and the wide receivers, like the top 4 or 5 of each? Let us know what this looks like for us, so we can try to organize this a little bit more accurately.
Okay, so what I did is I looked at last year's draft. I looked at running backs, wide receivers, and just for bonus content, because I knew you'd appreciate it, I looked at tight ends also. So, yep,
there you go.
Yep. So nice. I looked at how many I looked at the top 10 players taken at each position who actually played during the season. Like Travis Etienne, we left off because obviously he went on IR, didn't play. And I just looked up. Yeah, it was super quick. I just looked up total yards gained and touchdowns and just compared their draft spots and the overall stats. Now, I could go through each one, but let's look at the big picture. Last year's draft, there were 259 players drafted. Of those 259, 36 were wide receivers. 18 were running backs, and this might surprise you. Only 11 were tight ends. Only 11 tight ends got drafted last year. So
Well,
more
that
than
doesn't
3
surprise
times.
me because GreenBean often talks about Pat Kerwin's point about tight end position not being valued,
Right.
which
The
I don't
conscious
I don't
devaluation.
dispute. I don't dispute that, but I also don't understand it. I don't understand how in the hell tight end play could not be valued. I mean, those dudes are like the most valuable. They're offensive linemen that you can throw the ball to. What is better?
Right. Well, and there's a conscious effort too. That's what that big tight end last year, the last 2 years, they had like a tight end forum. All the tight ends came back and they're trying to consciously combat that. Why do you think that's happening? Because they're aware of the NFL's conscious devaluation of the tight end position. You look at the the franchise tags and all that, it's super low. When, just like Frankie said, it's one of the most valuable. If you use a tight end properly, it could be the most valuable piece on the entire offense when you're talking about benefit to the quarterback. It's unbelievable.
Especially when you think about, look at the prices that these wide receivers are going for. Look at the cost of these wide receivers. Well, maybe one way to organize your roster is save on wide receiver and load up on tight end, because they're going to cost you less, and maybe you can, balance out the production that way.
The franchise tag was only like $10 million for a tight end. That's one of the reasons the Cowboys kept Dalton Schultz and the Dolphins kept Mike Gesicki.
Yeah. And Njoku, we saw 3.
Oh my gosh.
We saw 3. Yeah. And that's exactly why, because it's chump change, man. 10 million, why not? And that's one of the things. It's like right above kicker. I think it is. It's like safe down at the bottom. It's tight end, safety, and kicker. It's like tight ends are unhappy about it, man. And nor should they be.
I think the water boy is on the same level pretty much.
Right. He's right there. Right. Exactly. All right. So go on there, Y2K.
So one of the things I think why we value the tight end so much is because it's so hard to find a real difference maker. Like when we consider, I think we tend to overrate a lot of tight ends. I mean, there's not too many Travis Kelce's and Rob Gronkowski's and George Kittles out there. So I'm just going to run through the top 10 tight ends who were drafted last year. First round, of course, Kyle Pitts. Second round, Pat Freiermuth. In the third round, you had Hunter Long, Tommy Tremble, and Trey McKitty.
They are.
I'm getting flashbacks with some of these names.
I know. Me too.
Fourth round, John Bates and Kylan Granson. No idea. Fifth round were Luke Farrell, Brevin Jordan, and Noah Gray. Some of those guys we never even talked about.
Right.
And when you do the math, only one had more than 500 yards, which was Kyle Pitts, but he only had 1 touchdown. Like Freiermuth had 497 yards, but he had 7 touchdowns. Hunter Long had 8 receiving yards total. Tremble, 180. McKitty, 45. This is not very impressive. These rookie tight ends are not making a big difference out of the gate. So when you total it up, those 10 tight ends I mentioned combined last year for 2,381 yards and 15 touchdowns for the season. That's 1.5 touchdowns per tight end for the season. Wow. And half of them were by Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah, right. And that's 500 yards. 497 is 500, Y2K. Give it to him, buddy.
You know what, though? That could also help explain Joe Douglas's focus on getting another tight end after he got CJ Uzomah. Let me get 2 veterans who I know can be productive rather than getting a Trey McBride or one of these guys who maybe similarly might take a while. Now, you look at Tyler Conklin's career. It took him a while to figure it out and get to be a productive tight end. So it could be the same thing with Hunter Long and some of these guys. But at the same time, maybe Joe Douglas said, well, I don't want to do that to Zach. Let me get him 2 established guys, and then maybe we take one late. Maybe we take a Kolar or somebody like that, and they can develop, but we're not counting on them to be Pat Freiermuth right out of the gate.
Totally. And it makes a ton of sense. It really does.
Yeah. Would you like me to go to the running backs?
I would.
All right. So the first 10 running backs drafted were first round, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, but we're going to skip him, like we said. Second round, Javonte Williams. Third round, Trey Sermon. Fourth round, Michael Carter, and yes, the tough name, Kene Nwangwu. We're just going to go with Kene.
They took that guy instead of Ramondre Stevenson. Believe me.
Yes, instead of Ramondre Stevenson. Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah. The Chuba Hubbard in the fourth round. Fifth round was Kenneth Gainwell, and sixth round, the next guy was Elijah Mitchell. So if we look at that, so Harris had 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, definitely the best performance out of any of them. Williams, 903 yards, 4 touchdowns. Trey Sermon, 167, 1 touchdown. Michael Carter, 639, 4 touchdowns. Kene, 61 yards. He did nothing. Stevenson and Hubbard both had around 600 yards, 5 touchdowns. Gainwell, 291, 5 touchdowns. So a lot of these running backs were scoring touchdowns. Like they all had 5 touchdowns in the 4th and 5th round. Total on that was 5,442 yards and 36 touchdowns for those running backs. And again, only 18 running backs were taken. And even Elijah Mitchell, who was the 11th one taken, was taken 194 overall in the 6th round.
So how much was it?
5,442 yards, 36 touchdowns.
36 touchdowns. Did you break it down how much that is per, like you did with the tight ends, 1.5?
It's pretty easy when you divide it by 10. So yeah, 3.6.
3.6. Okay.
Yeah, I can do that one.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, that's right in my pocket. So that is pretty good. Now, how did the wide receivers do?
Okay, this is where it gets interesting. And notice the draft positions that I've given you so far. The tight ends were all rounds 1 through 5. The running backs were 1 through 6. So last year, there were 5 receivers taken in the 1st round and 5 receivers taken in the 2nd round. That does not even factor in players like Amari Rodgers, Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who only had 912 yards and 5 touchdowns for Detroit. Jalen Darden, the guy that we really wanted, but was buried on the depth chart in Tampa Bay. But the top 10 receivers taken were Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Kadarius Toney, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore, Dwayne Eskridge, Tutu Atwell, and Terrace Marshall Jr. Okay, so only 2 had over 1,000, and those were the first 2 taken, Chase and Waddle. They were both, Chase had 13 touchdowns, Waddle had 6. Devontae Smith, 916, 5 touchdowns. Kadarius Toney, not so hot, 420, which seems appropriate for him, 0 touchdowns. Rashad Bateman, 515 yards, 1 touchdown. Elijah, 538, 5 touchdowns, though that was factoring in the injury time. Missed a few games, and you got to figure it would have been a lot more than that. Rondale Moore, 435 for 1 touchdown. Dwayne Eskridge, 64 yards, 1 touchdown. Tutu Atwell did nothing, literally no receiving yards. And Terrace Marshall, 138 yards, no touchdowns. So
crazy.
Yeah, because he had a lot of hype. But so you total that up. And
that's the Sam Darnold effect, Y2K.
Yeah, right. 5,496 yards. The yards are practically identical. It's like 50 yards difference. And 32 touchdowns. So the running backs actually have 36 wide receivers compared to 18 touchdowns. But the running backs actually have more touchdowns than the wide receivers do.
How much was the yardage for the wide receivers? I mean, it's way up there, but how much?
5,496 compared to the running backs, which were 5,442. Not that far off.
Isn't that interesting?
Yep.
Now, what did you think was it surprising to you when you did these numbers a little bit? Y2K?
I was the draft position is what I was surprised there was only 11 tight ends drafted. That was one thing because so many teams want that great tight end. But the run continued on wide receiver 1st round and then 5 more in the 2nd round. It was pretty interesting. Then it started to fall off a little bit. So these teams are really prioritizing drafting a wide receiver early. So, we're thinking one might fall. Well, based off what I'm seeing, one could fall to 35 or to 38, but you better get it by the 2nd round. That's what I'm saying.
Now let me take this information, which is fantastic, by the way. I hope you guys are able to listen. I know for me, when I start hearing numbers, I lose focus sometimes, but I was able to listen to this, and it's really interesting. I want you to know I did not know the numbers before. I'm hearing it for the first time right with you guys, and it's closer than even I thought. And I thought it was going to be pretty closer than I think what the general consensus is. But there is some talk out there that the Jets, having brought in 2 tight ends, already having Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, re-signing Braxton Berrios, who I think the team is going to treat as a number 3 as opposed to a number 4, and we have Denzel Mims, and we re-signed Jeff Smith. I think that with the idea we're going to go 12 personnel, and again, having already brought in our tight ends, that we are going to have the potential to grab a running back, and it could be one of, if not the top running back in the draft, maybe the top 1 or 2 running backs in the entire draft with our 35th or 38th pick. And that could actually have more benefit than the wide receiver that everybody's clamoring about. If we change the offense a little bit, like you saw, Mike LaFleur wants to do 12. Frankie outlined it earlier. You saw our first quarter of the season. He tried to square peg in a round hole the 12 personnel and even 21 personnel and 22. He tried. He had Tevin Coleman, West Kobe in the backfield, Griffin and Croft. He tried to do 12 and 22 personnel, and it just wasn't working. Bringing in the kind of people that can do that, wide receiver becomes significantly less of a priority. And when you look at the running back production and output versus the wide receiver production and output, even though Jamar Chase and Waddle and all these guys are getting all the press, the truth is that they're much, much closer than you think. And they might even value getting Breece Hall or Isaiah Spiller or Walker, one of those guys, whoever they like the best, at 35 over Trey McBride, now that the tight ends are gone, or even George Pickens or whoever, Dotson, whoever might be there. Watch UK, what do you think of that potential? Do you think I'm barking up the wrong tree? And then I can't wait to hear Frankie's take.
I think in my case, I would rather take a running back mid-round. I know you're interested in taking one maybe a little higher than I am. Most of the running backs I've been looking at are more of the middle rounds, like a Dameon Pierce, like a Jerome Ford. That's the kind of guy that I'm looking at. I think Zonovan Knight, that's another guy I was looking at. I really think that with the offensive line they're building up, adding Laken Tomlinson, adding these 2 tight ends, we have one of those offensive lines. I think a lot of time the offensive line can really help to make the running back. I think that's the reason why Elijah Mitchell was drafted 194 and he had the second most running yards out of any rookie. So if you have the right running back, you don't necessarily need the best running back. We want the right running back for this offense, and we might be able to get that running back in the 4th or 5th round.
Okay. So drafting one in the 2nd round, you still, even if you let's say they think Breece Hall is perfect.
Okay.
He's the guy. You would still think, even though he's the guy, getting another position there and waiting till the 4th for maybe
I would wait.
Yeah.
I want to get like linebacker. I want to address my 4 things that I want done desperately. I want pass rusher, starting wide receiver, run stopping defensive tackle, starting linebacker. I need those 4 things done. And
interesting.
If we get a running back before one of those, I'll be a little bit uneasy about it. That's how I feel.
So, Frankie, I know that you agree with me 100% that the Jets should draft a running back in the 2nd over maybe a wide receiver. So, why don't you give me your take on this? I'm really curious to hear what you think about that.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree. I'm going to take the anti side. I'm basically going with Y2K on this one because what is the opportunity cost? What is it costing us? So in the 2nd round, instead of a running back, what else could we do? We might land ourselves Leo Chenal, and that would be amazing. And then you get in the 4th round, you get, like Y2K said, you get a Kenneth Walker, you get a Dameon Pierce, you get a Devontae Price, you get there's a number of these. You might get Tyler Algier out of BYU. There's so many of these running backs who you could get. You could get a Hassan Haskins, you could get a Jerome Ford, you might get any one of these guys. And remember, we're just pairing them up with Michael Carter. They're going to split it, so we don't necessarily need a Breece Hall, even though he would be amazing. I love Breece Hall. He would be fantastic to have here. Isaiah Spiller would be fantastic to have here. But then you can't have Leo Chenal. And do you want to have a Breece Hall and somebody like let's say you take Breece Hall and then later you get Nephi Sewell from Utah. Yeah. And now you have Breece Hall and Nephi Sewell instead of Leo Chenal and Jerome Ford or Leo Chenal and Kenneth Walker. So I would say because there's so many similar running backs, just wait. Get one that's probably – and we saw the stats earlier. I showed you the 4th round guys were in some ways even more productive than the earlier guys. And you could have an argument about, but they didn't have the workload and this and that.
Yeah.
But it's similar. I mean, they're close anyway. I mean, they're pretty close, even if you might say, okay, Najee's better. I would rather have Najee. Okay, but how much better is he? Slightly better? Okay, but now we can also have Leo Chenal instead of instead of a tiny little bit better of a running back. So, and Leo Chenal would be a big difference maker in terms of our quality of linebacking play, as an example. So you also have to weigh the opportunity cost, and with as many needs as we have, it seems to me that you wait on running back because you can get somebody pretty good later. That's the way I would look at it.
It's an interesting take. I have to say that I was 100% with you guys until we brought in the 2 tight ends. And now, like, looking at some numbers like this, like what Watu just presented, and even what you brought up earlier, Frankie, I mean, even though that's a little bit counter the argument that I'm trying to make, it still shakes things up enough. It's like when you look at how important running backs really are to the offense, and the fact that the guy we're all depending on, Michael Carter, was injured 3 times last year, all through college, made it because he had a tag team approach with Javonte Williams. Getting that guy and making sure he's the right guy, the best guy for that role, might supersede the idea of needing a wide receiver. Again, we already have Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, Denzel Mims. And I know a lot of people don't like Mims, but he's still here. He's 6'3", 4.38 speed, high pointer that had a bad year. That's it. And he might be done. Who knows? Maybe he degraded to such a point he's mush and his career's over. I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. But anyway, the argument can be made, and I'm starting to think that the Jets might consider that, even though I think they like Rachaad White and Tyler Algier out of all the mid-round running backs. We saw what we did, what they did with Rachaad White in the Senior Bowl. They ran him more than any other player. He had more carries, more yards, higher yards per carry than anybody else in the game, and that was because the Jets did that to him. They had other guys. They ran Rachaad White almost the whole game. So it's interesting. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think the Jets will draft a running back looking at their situation? You think it's highly unlikely, Y2K? You think it's possible? You think it's a slam dunk? Where do you I know what you think, but what do you think about the Jets?
I think it's very possible. I'd be surprised if they don't come out with one running back. And even if they don't, they'll find somebody who doesn't get drafted and bring him in for a look anyway. If there's one position you could probably find it might work out pretty well as an undrafted free agent, I think running back is a pretty good way to go. So to me, yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, I still find it hard to believe that Ty Johnson and Michael P. Ryan will be on this roster in September. I can't imagine that. I mean, we're not rolling into the season with Michael Carter and Tevin Coleman and nothing else.
Yeah.
So to me, you have to keep infusing that youth into it. And running backs it's sad, but they are very recyclable. They turn over quickly. So absolutely draft one in the middle rounds after we address some things where we need starters, because I don't think we need a starter at running back, but we need, like you said, that tag team partner. We need the 2 and the 1-2 punch. So let's get that in the draft this year. Let's do that.
So you think 4th round?
4th round is what I'm thinking when you have 2 picks over that way. 4th round makes sense, but if there's a certain guy they really like and he's available in the 3rd round, if one drops, I'm not against that.
Frankie, where do you stand on this one? You think the Jets are likely to do that? You think it's possible the 2nd round, or you think they're probably going to wait till the 4th or so?
Well, it's possible in the 2nd round. So the one caveat to all this is if how it works is they'll group players up. And if they have similar grades on 20 guys and they don't care, it's like, we'll take any of these guys. They're the same player to us. Well, then you're waiting. You're not picking anybody high. But they might have one guy who's graded super high. And if that guy happens to fall to them at 2, they might go, well, listen, this guy is so perfect for us. We need to have him in particular because of something he does different than the other guys. But if they have everybody graded the same, if they have 20 dudes and they know they're going to get one of them in the 4th round, then you wait. So you got to see who they like the best. But generally, I think they're going to wait. I mean, they're going to look and say, we got Michael Carter in the 4th, and we love Michael Carter, and he might have been the most productive out of all those guys. So, or at least close. And we waited to the 4th, and that allowed us to get Elijah Moore in the 2nd.
Right.
Because we didn't take Javonte Williams when we could have. And you might like Javonte Williams a little more than Michael Carter, but would you like Javonte Williams and some guy we never heard of, or would you rather have Michael Carter and Elijah Moore? Give me those 2 things.
Yeah, I hear you. But there are some linebackers back there too, but your point is sound. I get it. I like Jesse Lukita from Penn State. and a few other guys that are going to be floating around back there. But what I will say, I think the Jets are grabbing Isaiah Spiller with pick 38. That's what I think. I think it.
And I wouldn't be upset.
It hard.
Okay.
I wouldn't be upset. I'm happy. We need a running back. He'll be a good one. And so, let's go.
If they go running back at 38, they must be completely in love with him. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's
And
what
they
I think.
must. And they must. What if they imagine they go ahead and take Trey McBride and Isaiah Spiller? You know damn well this is a 12, 22, 21. That's what they're doing. They're going to have one wide receiver out there and 22 personnel all damn day. It's going to be Elijah Moore all day and nobody else.
And CJ Mosley will be sitting there tearing his purple hair out, going, "Can I get some help, please? Joe Douglas, can somebody help me? I need somebody."
Right. Well, he'll never be on the field. He'll have the ball.
Woody Hayes.
Right. They'll have the ball all game. It's just like was said in the chat, 5 + 5 = a first down. 4 + 4 + 4 gets you in the end zone all day. Just takes a while to get there. I love it. Stephen Calendrolo, thank you for the super chat. He says, I work out of state and live out of my Grand Design RV at work. Ooh, Grand Design, my favorite. What's the most challenging part of RV life for you? Holy shit. Well, you're living in one place. So the most challenging part is over. I mean, you don't have to do that. I mean, I think the most challenging part is the fact of moving. Now, that's not to say I don't enjoy it. I get excited every time that we pack up and we go to the next place. I feel a buzz, like we're going. I can't wait to get to I'm a very vagabond. I'm a wandering soul. So that part, I do like it, but it's still challenging, dumping all the tanks, flushing everything out, disconnecting, unleveling it, putting everything away, making sure everything's packed up securely and making sure the air's, air in the tires, everything's greased, all that kind of shit. It's a pain in the ass. And especially when you do it every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks at the most, that becomes daunting. I did it for 2 years. As you guys may or may not know, I just ended the road trip officially a couple of days ago. So I am now back in Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm still in the RV. My hope is to keep this thing so I can buy a house and then put it next to the house and have this as kind of like my Jets office, just hang out in here. I'll never go in the house again. I'll just be living in here by myself. But that's my hope is to have the RV next to the house and obviously live in the house and work in here. But I don't know if that's possible. I might need to sell it. But anyway, man, have fun. Grand Design. You got to tell me. I'll keep my eye in the chat. Tell me which model you have. I almost bought a Solitude. It was a fifth wheel. I almost bought a Grand Design Solitude. I wanted it, but I had a hitch weight issue with my truck. And anyway, I got this one. But good for you. Grand Design is the best. And Grand Design is actually made for full-timers too, if you can believe that. Not every RV is created equal, but have fun out there, Steven. And I hope you like it. It's a good thing. Let's see what else we got. There was another one. I think Jeremy said Mumtaz. There he is. Mumtaz is back. Thanks, Mumtaz. He says, please research Brian Asamoah or JoJo Doman. Doman might be perfect will for us and can probably be gotten in the fourth. He is 6'1", 230, can play slot corner even. I did a lot of work on Brian Asamoah. I happen to like him a lot. He's actually a decent rusher as well, and he can be an asset. That's what I'm saying. Like, so Brian Asamoah could be a second, but more than likely he's a third round pick in my opinion. So if we did the running back thing and waited till the third, if we got Brian Asamoah and brought him in, I would not be disappointed with that in the slightest. I think he's going to end up being one of those third round guys that, ends up being a day one starter and has a great career. It happens every single year. And he's made of that ilk. I did a little bit on JoJo Doman, not much. It was more like highlights and a little reading about his draft profile. I didn't dig in too much. I will more, but 230 seems that's right in the pocket. Salah likes, man. He seems to like those 220 to 235 guys.
Yeah, he's a little small. He's only 6'1". He doesn't have a ton of length, but he is very strong. His NFL comparison I see is Matt Milano, which I'll take one of those on my team for sure.
Hell yeah.
He forces fumbles, 9 career forced fumbles. Loves playing against tight ends. I like that. But he's had injury issues too, mostly in 17 and 18. All right, I'm not going to get too nuts about that. But Doman sounds like an interesting guy to look into. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'd agree. He falls into the same category for me. Asamoah, Chad Muma, those guys, JoJo Doman. Yeah, I mean, we could bring them in. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
it
be
seems
upset.
like those are the type of linebackers we talk about. Joe Douglas doesn't go after, though. We were talking about
Right.
so many. Remember, we were talking about like Derek Barnes last year, nonstop.
Totally.
Yeah,
Nonstop. Jabril Cox.
I mean, their
We all
plan.
wanna
But their plan was that Hamza and Sherwood were going to be, linebacking studs, and
Keanu
Sherwood
Neal
was on his way.
free
But
agency.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
Jared Davis, right? They thought they had something in Jared Davis for some odd reason.
Well,
But-
it makes sense. It makes sense.
you can't hit on them all. I mean, that was a
Yeah.
rare swing and a miss.
Well, it was a good swing. It was worth it. I mean, he was a first round pick who I liked I liked him very much coming out. Low risk, high reward potential. He's a 1-year contract. Don't forget, guys, Jets fans wanted us to win 12 games last year, but this coaching staff, while they wanted to win all of them, they had very realistic expectations for what's going on. Joe Douglas told us, I'm going to build this team through the draft primarily. So up until this point, he got his quarterback last year. He got his new coaching staff. He had to fire the previous coaching staff, fire the medical staff, reinvent everything, get the fucking dead cap weight off of the docket and everything like that. He's finally got all of his assets. He's got all of his money. He's got all of his draft picks, and he's got his quarterback and coaching staff. Now we're going to see him start to do stuff. But up to this point, he's building through the draft, and he's getting players in to fill those spots on 1-year contracts, because if they suck, they're gone. If they're great, I found a gem. It's low risk, high reward. It's actually very smart. And I thought the Jared Davis signing was a very good one, worth a swing. Now, did it work? No, it did not work. Jared Davis was terrible last year. But having him with CJ Mosley to start the season, I think was a very good plan. Having Sherwood and Nasruddin behind them, I think was good. And then Jared Davis never made it to the first game. So we started with one plan: Carl Lawson, Jared Davis, Vinny Curry, Ronald Blair. They were all gone.
Now, don't forget there was also
Joyner got hurt in the first quarter.
Joyner, right.
Joyner.
So we had a whole plan, and it was tossed game one. It was a completely different plan. So, we roll with the punches, but that's what they were trying to do. What's up, Frankie?
Now, don't forget, we also hired a defensive coach from the University of Cincinnati, Coach Scruggs, this year. We now have Coach Scruggs on our staff. Why is that important? Well, Cincinnati has a lot of people coming into this draft on the defense. Okay, so somebody to watch might be Darian Beavers. And Coach Scruggs might say, yeah, that's a kid you want. Get him draft. Or he might say, nah, he's not so good in the weight room, something, and they have a million of them. IJ Sanders and Kobe Bryant and Sauce, and there's a lot of them. So that's something to keep in mind too. We might go with a Cincinnati kid or two.
Very interesting, and that's right. Look, man, it's all about that higher level thinking. That's what we have been devoid of over the years, all the way back to Rich Kotite, Terry Bradway. There was no thinking past right now. Joe Douglas, you can see it. They're thinking long term. They have a whole web of ideas and everything that they're trying to accomplish. Now, is it all going to work? No, it's not. And I'm going to tell you, as much as I like Joe Douglas's trades and all that shit, he's going to make mistakes. There's going to be things that don't work out. It's fine. You want just somebody who has more potential to get things right for the long term, for the overall, than not. And the Jets have not had higher level thinking here in the longest time. And that's what I feel like we have now, which is why I'm so happy. Duncan McLean said he did a PFF mock, and he got Hamilton, Trayvon Walker, Nakobe Dean, Christian Watson, and Isaiah Spiller way back there in the fourth. What do you guys think of that? It's a pretty good draft. I'd be happy with that.
I take it.
Yeah, what do you think, Y2K? Not so high on Walker, but what do you think of the overall there?
No, I'll go for it. I know that we'll have a lot of fans who have a freaking conniption because we took Hamilton fourth. I'm assuming we're taking him fourth, but
we could cover people, we could rush people, we could tackle people. That's a good draft. We got a wide receiver, we could run the ball, we could throw the ball. Why are people going to be be I don't get it.
You've upgraded every level of the defense.
Yeah, right.
To start off, that's the first thing that I think of is now this
well
defense
said.
is not 32. So
right, all three facets of the defense were upgraded. Now there's some rumblings that Nakobe Dean might slide to the second. You think that's possible? Imagine going let's say we go Thibodeau and Traylon Burks, and we forgo linebacker, and then one of the guys we were thinking about at 10 slides to 35. Frankie, what do you think? You think we'll find Nakobe Dean ends up sliding through like many linebackers have in the past?
Well, it's funny that you pick him. He might slide, in fact. One of the things that people like Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah are saying is that Nakobe Dean is really small, like really small.
Yeah.
And although he's very fast and has a lot of skill, that size, some teams are going to hold that against him. That's what they're saying. So a guy like that, he might slide according to them. I don't know. I mean, it seems weird to me. He's awfully productive.
He's 6 feet 225. So
yeah, that's solid size. What do you think, Watch2K? You think he'll be there at 35?
no, I don't think. I fully expect him to be the first linebacker off the board.
Wouldn't it be funny?
I think he's getting past like Philadelphia. I would think Philadelphia would
Philly, but Philly loves Devin Lloyd, I think. If they
Yeah.
can get Devin Lloyd, I
bit
think they
older.
prefer him.
Yeah, he's a little older, but they have 3 firsts, man. They're going to feel less pressure. They're going to be like, you know what? We have some room to breathe here. Let's go ahead and take a swing. Hey, Frankie, 3 Amigos checks in. What's up, 3 Amigos? And thank you for the super chat. I'm going to add this. You didn't put a question, so this you wrote under it. I'm going to use this as your super chat. He says, I love Frankie's News 24 video feature. Everyone should subscribe to his channel. Send Frankie to scout school. Yeah,
Frankie,
man.
Are you really 3 Amigos? Is this your alter ego?
Well, one thing I'll make clear. So he's talking about a new feature I have on the channel where we're looking at some all 22 footage, not the 24 video, amigos. You can't
I was going to ask, are you going live 24 hours?
If you put 24 people on the field, that's a penalty. Okay, but it's 11.
Yeah.
Referees
11 on
included,
each
maybe. I don't know.
side. So it's the all 22, and I started taking a look at some of the some of the all 22 and breaking down a little bit of the video. For a little bit of the film that started this morning, so we'll see if people like it. Some people seem to like it. Not a lot of people watching it from this morning, so we'll see.
Yeah, well, look, and I couldn't recommend it higher. I mean, there's a reason I asked Frankie to co-host this with me. I believe in him. I love his stuff. I go over there whenever I can. Frankie's information is in the description of this video. If you haven't subbed yet, please do. I mean, it's worth it. And Watch2K's information for the Virginia Jets fan club is in the description, and the information for the next guy I'm going to bring on so you can stare at him for your looking pleasure. Let's bring on NFL Chaos with Jeremy, who runs the back of this chat for me, man. I think it's an instrumental piece of this show, and I couldn't be more grateful. But that is NFL Chaos with Jeremy right here before your very eyes, and his information for his channel is in the description. And if you didn't know, every Wednesday, Watch2K and Jeremy cut it up on the Wacky Wednesday show on NFL Chaos with Jeremy. So, Jeremy, thank you, man. I appreciate your attention to detail in the back. I would get lost without you, my friend. I mean it. That's all right. Just unmute yourself and we'll be good.
The best part about it is I love going into the regular chat and assuring people that their super chat will be read.
Right. But guys, if you saw it, he pesters me. Like if it goes 3, 4, 5 minutes without, he's like, hey, he yells, he keeps listening. Don't forget this guy. And it's fantastic. I mean, I'm telling you, I'd be lost in the sauce
all over the place. He's throwing hot sauce at green bean.
Right.
Not only that, in the backstage little video icon, you see me going crazy. I'm like doing this. Green bean's making confused faces. Like, why is he flipping out? What's going on?
Right. You guys can't see that. Like I can see all these guys like in little windows, even when they're not on the screen, I can see it. And he's, doing this stuff. It's
guys,
fun. So
if you have no other motivation to send a super chat, remember, the more you send, the crazier you will drive Jeremy.
Yeah, that's good motivation, right, man? But thank you, Jeremy. So let's get to this question, and I'm going to throw it to Jeremy. Do you guys think someone can jump to 3 and take Thibodeau if he's there and someone wants him, like the Jets might want him? So he's asking if you think there's the possibility somebody would jump us for a player like Kayvon Thibodeau.
I mean, why wouldn't Houston just take Thibodeau? I mean, Houston, the thing about the Houston Texans, they need everything. What don't the Houston Texans need? They need everything. So they're going to be BPA. So if everybody loves KT and thinks he's the BPA after the first 2 guys are taken, then they would just take him, I would think. I mean, I don't know why Houston would be motivated. Now, Houston just got all those picks, right, for Deshaun Watson. And those who missed it today, there was a second grand jury who found him equally not guilty again. So he got found not guilty twice now.
Yeah, so looking pretty good for him. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah.
It's I mean, Houston would only do it if you gave him a haul, right? I mean, everybody answers the phone. There's no GM that doesn't pick up the phone and listen. But why would somebody I don't know if Tibbs, especially with what's going on with, he dropped down a little bit. People didn't like what he said. I just don't know if this is the draft where someone's going to be motivated to give up a lot to move up. I mean, I think that's usually for a quarterback. It could be for an edge, but I just don't see the perfect scenario. Next year there's a guy coming out. I think that people would trade up for. I'm forgetting his name right now. Robinson or something. There's somebody
Will Anderson. Will
Anderson. You said that's a guy I could see people will be aggressive and somebody might make a big move to move up for. But I don't think you're going to see that happen. I don't think somebody's going to trade up for Tibbs because I don't know if the perception is that there's enough of a difference between him and a Jermaine Johnson or or a Kaloftis or somebody else that you can grab.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Thomas M, thank you for the super chat. He has a long road question here. Let's say we nail the draft and plug the holes on this team. What more would be needed the following year to be considered a playoff team? Now, this is interesting because I don't think we're all necessarily agree on which holes will be filled in this draft. We have some sauce. We have some no sauce. We have some Parmesan. We have some no Parmesan. We have all kinds of thoughts here. Linebackers, running backs. But let's say that. Y2K, what do you think? Like, if we filled the holes that you think this draft is really stronger in, maybe linebacker, edge, what do you think is going to be needed next year? This is kind of difficult, but what do you think we would need next year after we plug the holes that this draft fills?
To me, it's comes down to basically two simple things. Mekhi Becton, how's he playing? But more importantly, how is Zach Wilson progressing? Is he making the jumps that we need him to make? This team will go as Zach Wilson goes. That is the life of the NFL. So if we are drafting properly, great. We could have this great defense and whatnot. We can have this really solid running game. We could have the most accurate kicker in football. We could have 11 Justin Hardys on special teams. But if the quarterback is continuing to throw the ball into the ground or sliding at the wrong times or different things like that, which he did do from time to time his rookie season, it doesn't matter. And at best will be maybe a 6, 7, 8 win team. And if all breaks right, we'll be on the fringe of making the playoffs, but we'll never be that consistent contender that we've been waiting for so long.
Yeah. Now that's right. Like I don't know. I think that this is the year that we don't go cornerback because of that reason. Now, again, if they love Sauce and like Richard Sherman said, he's the perfect player then they're not going to bypass some opportunity like that. At the same time, I think cornerback is actually stocked. It might not be with premium guys, but it's good. And if we fortify edge, linebacker, safety, these cornerbacks might be good enough, but in the event that they don't, I think cornerback might be the priority next year. But hey, man, if we fill every hole this year, we won't even need to use the draft next year, Frankie. We'll be good. We'll be stocked.
Then we do the Rams philosophy. Fuck them picks. We just trade for veterans, baby. That's all you need.
There you go.
But there's one number. I keep telling people Thomas is one number. Maybe you haven't heard from me in my videos. There's one number that rules them all. If Zach Wilson hits 65% thereabouts, all the dominoes fall into place because everything else about him will stay the same. His escapability, the way he runs, his deep arm, his velocity, all that stays the same. So all he has to do is be accurate. And then we have sustained drives. We can run the ball. We're going to have more touchdowns, more points, more yards, keep the defense off the field. All the dominoes start to fall with one number.
I like it. Now, Frankie, what did you say? How much of his completion percentage was affected by the drops last year, did you say?
Well, he had 12.9% of his catchable passes dropped last year, which led the league by a huge margin. So all we got to do is just do things average. Catch the ball, average. Throw an average number of bad passes instead of a high number of bad passes. Just average. And he will be at 64, 65, 66%. The numbers tell us that. So, and that's all we need. It just all the dominoes start falling into place with that one number. for him.
Boy, I want to see the Jets social media publicize that slogan. Let's be average.
Let's be average.
Average.
Just be
Average
right?
is beautiful. Average is
Just-
beautiful.
Right. We don't need a
Let's put
number
that on
one
a sticker,
wideout.
Working our way to average.
Right. We don't need a number one wideout. We don't need the best running back. We need everybody here to be average. Well, that would be Moneyball. That's what Moneyball was. It's just like, hey, all we need to do is what you do. That's it. Do nothing else and do what you do and we will win.
Yeah,
Hey,
do
maybe
your
that's
job.
what we're doing.
That's
Do your
what the
job.
Patriots. That's what the Patriots have done. That's their slogan. The Patriots' slogan is "Do your job." As mundane as that is, it works for them. Do your job. Just do your job. You don't have to do everything. Just do your job. That's it.
Do your job. That's it. So let me ask you guys this before we go. We still got 300 people in here. How many likes do we have on this video? Are we doing okay with the 300 people? We had 400 in here tonight. We have 300 now, 322 it says. Let me sort 309 now. We got 233 likes. If you're one of the people in here that has not liked the video, now would be a fantastic time to get that job, that task off of your ledger. Just go ahead and click that button. If you have not subscribed to this channel, you should do that too. I'm putting out pretty much just about daily content right about now. We're going live far more often. We got this show. We got the Monday Night Mock, all kinds of fun stuff. And I just put out another video today about why Joe Douglas is a wizard. You get all that. All you do is subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll be reminded every single time we do anything. And that's greatly appreciated. But before we go, I want to ask really the biggest question. And this is from me. I want to know what this panel thinks. I'll start with you, Jeremy. Is Mekhi Becton a bust? Is he going to be average? Or do you think this guy's going to come back and be what we thought he was going to be when we drafted him 11 overall and the guy that we watched for the majority of his rookie season? What do you think is going to happen with Mekhi Becton?
I just want to address the calling him a bust. You know, Michael Carter, the running back who we all really like, missed some time, probably as much as Becton missed his first season. Like, he was hurt a few times. He missed some time. If in the first game of next season, one of our players was to roll on his leg and dislocate his knee, and he was out for the season, and even if he didn't come back as soon as they thought, but there were complications, would we be calling him a bust? Are we thinking that somebody rolling on a player's leg right now, Elijah Moore missed time. If somebody rolls on his leg, is he a bust? So a lot of the weight thing is a joke. I mean, that's just people who went to the practice. This is all just people in the media just saying this. This never came out of anyone real's mouth that he was 400 pounds. This is all just invented stuff. People were sitting there saying how overweight he was. And then he came out with a video where he looked like an absolute monster. He didn't look like a fat offensive lineman. He looked like a monster, an animal. And I've never seen him where he doesn't look good to me. I think that are we concerned about the knee? Maybe, because some people have really bad luck with injuries. But as far as who he is and this whole crazy narrative that he's not a hard worker, it's all ridiculous to me. He was playing like a future all-pro stud left tackle. And I think that if he stays healthy, he's going to go back on that path. And we should be very excited about him and I don't care if he plays on the left or the right. It doesn't really matter. The point is he's going to be an incredible contributor to this team and to our running game and to the pass protection.
Frankie, what do you think about Becton? Do you agree with Jeremy? Do you think we got to start hedging our bets here? Where do you stand?
No, I agree with Jeremy, and I also ride with Duke Manyweather. I just don't. To me, I ride with Duke Manyweather. That's the way I look at it. And Duke Manyweather, for those who don't know, that's Becton's trainer. He trains almost all of the top offensive linemen in the league. He knows offensive line play better than anyone. And he is of the opinion that Becton is a beast and he'll be back and he's going to be back better than ever. And that last year was just an unfortunate accident that happened. And there's nothing that could have been done about it. And it has nothing to do with anything except it was just an unfortunate accident that happened. And that's that. He's working out every day. I follow Duke Manyweather on Twitter and I follow Mekhi on Twitter, by the way. So I can see what he's doing. He's working out. He's working his fanny off and he looks like a monster. And so I think he's going to be a monster, and that's it. I mean, but now maybe he comes back and gets injured again, and that's going to be terrible. But you can't.
Going to be rough.
This is football.
Yeah.
But it's also, this is football. And if you think there's a football player ever in any arena that hasn't been hurt, you're wrong. Because in high school, they've been hurt. In college somewhere, every football player gets hurt because it's a violent sport played by very large men moving very, very fast, hitting each other. That is going to cause injuries. And it's just the way it is. So.
Yeah. Well, Y2K, I'll spin the question a little bit for you. You can answer it in the same way, but do you think Becton will end up at left tackle or right tackle? Fant had a pretty good year, so we know we have a proven commodity there, but what do you think? Is Becton coming back and you see him at left or right?
Your starting left tackle for the New York Jets in the 2022 season will be Mekhi Becton. It's not going to be George Fant's going to be here one more season, okay, unless they extend him. They're not. This coaching staff is not going to want to dick around with Zach and move this tackle here, move this tackle here. No. They want stability, and the one place you need stability more than any other place on the offensive line, as we know, is the blind side. It's left tackle. George Fant will be the right tackle. That's where you got to put him. Becton, we know, has all the capability in the world of being an all-pro left tackle. As far as the bust talk goes, here's how I'm going to answer it. If a player shows his capability, shows his talents, but gets injured, to me, that is not a bust. Call it bad luck, call it whatever you want, but that doesn't make him a bust. A bust to me is somebody who can't play it or doesn't care enough to even try to play. That to me is a bust, and that is not Mekhi Becton.
Right.
So I have a problem with that. And the other thing I'm going to point out is, Darrelle Revis, who, as I understand, he went to the University of Pittsburgh. Is that true? Okay.
Oh, yes.
Frankie knows.
Yeah, just making sure. Yeah, the fact that he reached out unsolicited to Mekhi Becton on Twitter, I think Revis is pretty capable of spotting a good football player. He's seen a few players in his lifetime. He said, stay healthy, ignore the noise. This upcoming season is a big year for you. And Becton just responded, I got you, OG. He knows it. So I like that Becton has been going back a little bit at his detractors on social media. He knows what they're saying. The fact that he is now going to be a father pretty soon. I know his girlfriend recently got pregnant a couple months back. I think that gives him even more motivation. So, there's no such thing as a guarantee, but I got very good confidence in Mekhi Becton coming back and being the left tackle we want him to be.
Yeah. Well, I like it too. I think I'm very, very high on Becton. And I feel confident as well. Like Frankie said, I follow Duke Manyweather as well. And like some comments said, like the reporters are coming out and saying he's eating himself to death. He's too fat. He's 40 pounds overweight. And 2 days later, Duke Manyweather puts out a video and goes, that's him yesterday. So what do you see? You know what I mean? The guy's a snarling beast. He's covered in sweat. He looks svelte. He's 360 pounds and he doesn't look like a blob. Like shit, man. I weigh, when I'm 230, I look, like you're talking about Mekhi Becton looks. And I don't think it's an issue as anybody does either, man. I'm with you guys. And I hope you guys are too. I think one of the things I'm really disappointed with us as a fan base for is like these 22 and 23-year-old players and have already showed promise. We give up fast around here. We want to fire people. We want to cut people. And then not only that would even be fine, but we're harassing them on Twitter. You fat and lazy. He shows a pic with him and his wife. You should be working out, fat ass, like stuff like that. I can't get with it. I'm disappointed. Now I know 99% of us aren't doing that, but there's still a faction. If you're one of them guys, cut the shit. Already, leave these guys alone. Let them want to be here, man. Let them want to make us proud, and don't make it any more difficult than it has to be. Braden Bethwaite checking in from the land down under New Zealand. He says everyone is going to play at 100% of their ability. It's going to be fucking awesome. Let's go. Woohoo! That's Braden. I'm with you, Braden. And I think it's going to be good. Let me see if there's anything else in here, because this is now an hour overtime. We made it an hour. I thought it was going to be like 20 minutes over. We're an hour over. I can keep going. You want to do another hour?
Felt like 5 minutes.
Didn't it?
I got a 5 a.m. plane in the morning. You kidding?
Where are you going? Where are you going?
South Carolina for the first time. Going to Charleston.
Yeah, business pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure. Yeah, I got a 3-day thing with the fam. So gonna check out. Got a few food places gonna hit up, including the 12-layer coconut cake at Peninsula Grill, which I'm very excited to try.
I believe you should be trying barbecue if you're in South Carolina. Shouldn't you be eating barbecue? Hello.
Yeah, they like their shrimp and grits down there. I've just never seen a grit before. You know?
Oh, you've never had a grit?
No, I've had a grit.
Oh, okay.
I haven't had
Well, let
good
me-
ones until you start putting them with like not with breakfast, not in the grits that way. But there is a place called Rodney Scott's, and they've got they do the whole hog barbecue.
Yep,
It's so
I know
good.
Robbie
He's got
Scott's.
Queen's Beard Awards for a barbecue place. And that's saying something. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get some whole hog barbecue at some point.
Dude, it's so good, man. But let me tell you this. There is a difference. South Carolina is split with their barbecue. And I might be telling you something you already know, but there's the regular ketchup base, which you see more in North Carolina. Eastern North Carolina is vinegar, but the rest of the state is ketchup based. And it's like sweet, but there's a hidden gem about South Carolina. And it's called South Carolina Gold.
Yes.
Which is a yellow sauce, and it's mustard based. And if it's done right, it is the best. I'm telling you.
Bissinger's barbecue. They originated it from what I hear.
There you go.
I might bring a bottle home with me. I don't know if
That's
I'll be
what
able to get there.
every time I drive through South Carolina, I stop at Maurice's and I get a jar or two of the South Carolina Gold. It's again, there are places that try to duplicate it everywhere, other places, and it's fine. It's okay. It's like eating fucking Prego to me. When you go to a real place and get their sauce, it's like it can't be beat. It can't be beat, man. South Carolina Gold barbecue. Oh man, you got to find it. So good for you, man. Charleston's a gorgeous city. I've been there twice.
Okay.
And I love it. Love
It's
it
my
there.
first time, so I'm excited about it.
Good for you. So Slago just wants to remind us barbecue sucks if not cooked on the meat. Well, I don't know what that means. If it's
I
not
don't know,
cooked.
but all I know is that Texas barbecue. Somebody had another comment, 8:30, I think it was, that Texas barbecue is where it's at, and I have to agree. Texas barbecue. I mean, it's legendary. They got something in Austin called Franklin's Barbecue, where people line up for 6 hours to eat lunch.
Yeah,
6 hours to get some barbecue. That's a little ridiculous, but people do it. So it's gotta be
I'll
good.
go.
Yeah.
I'll drive an hour to Richmond for some of the best ribs that I've ever had. I mean, no problem. But an hour, 6 hours. That's saying something.
Yeah.
I love it all.
I lived in Raleigh for a while, and that Eastern with the vinegar base. Yeah, I just couldn't get into that.
It's all good.
It's okay. But
yeah.
vinegar
I
base,
mean, right. Let's be real here. I mean, I gotta say though, I really don't enjoy very much the vinegar-based barbecue sauce. I mean, I can eat it, but I really don't love it, man. And I went. There's a thing called the North Carolina Barbecue Trail. And there's like 30 places, very like legit, been there a long time, real pits in the ground, all that kind of shit. And I've been to like 7 or 8 of the places on the North Carolina Barbecue Trail. And as you get to Eastern North Carolina, it's vinegar. And the meat's tender and it's really good. I just don't love the vinegar base, man. It's like that thin, it's like vinegar, and I don't.
vinegar, hot peppers, and yeah, that's what they do. So, Jeremy, when you come in June, I guess we got a barbecue trail to hook up in addition to doing the pizza thing, right?
You're gonna be annoyed with me because when I go to there's a place like Backyard Barbecue. It's one of those famous pits GreenBean's talking about. I got to be honest with you. I'm more of the sides guy. Like I like the yams,
macaroni and cheese, and
I like the sides, man, and the hush puppies.
Hush puppies. But then again, I've had bad hush puppies, man. You got to be careful. Some of these places don't know what the hell they're doing. So it's really important. Now, sometimes you go to like the North Carolina Barbecue Trail. Interestingly, a lot of those places don't sell ribs. They don't. It's all pulled pork.
And if you don't believe there's like that fate, karma gods, whatever you want to call, Jeremy, I don't even want to know what just happened. Okay, I'm flipping the Food Network last night, and I'm watching The Best Thing I Ever Ate, and the theme is Living Large. They had 2 Charleston restaurants on. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Really? Well, look at this, Y2K.
Chicken. They're serving whole fried chickens. I'm like, good Lord.
That's awesome, though. But look at this, Y2K. Look, John Silva's son owns a restaurant in Charleston called the Charleston Cheese for mac and cheese. Silva, give our boy a hookup, man. He'll go down there, promote the place.
Off.
I got to look that up.
15% off. Come on, got to give him a coupon code.
Yeah, I'll go and say, so why does your dad hate Trey McBride so much?
Well, Cadosa's saying smoked is better than sauce, but I'm gonna one up you, Cadosa. It's smoked and sauced. And the thing is that's the way to do it. And you got to have the smoke ring. And then when you do the sauce right, cook the sauce off. Sloppy sauce is for amateurs, man. But having the sauce cooked on is fantastic. Now, the thing with Texas is predominantly dry rub. And that's the Kansas City's dry rub too. So you got to know what you got to know what to expect, or else sometimes you can have great barbecue, but still be disappointed if you're expecting one thing and get another. So got to be careful with barbecue, man. The country does it all wacky different ways all over the place. It's one of the fun things about traveling, man, is the foods. Barbecue's a big one. So let's see. What's let's say John Silva. Franklin's is famous across the country, right? So Frankie, there's
Franklin's barbecue in Austin. And John also knows that in Lockhart. So John, what's the one in Lockhart? Is it Black's? There's a family-owned one that's expanding in Lockhart, Texas, that I think is called Black's Barbecue, if I'm not mistaken. There's a famous one too.
Three Amigos is vegan. Hey, here's what I'm going to tell you, Three Amigos. No, vegan's okay. I was vegetarian at different times in my life. My daughter's a vegetarian, but you can still have good barbecue. It's all about the sauce, and you can do it, man. Get some good textured vegetable protein.
Celery with barbecue sauce.
Don't worry, Three Amigos. Frankie's a caveman. Don't you worry. I know what you're going through, buddy. I'm with you.
Would that be one of your side dishes? Celery dipped in barbecue sauce?
Hell yeah, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time. Celery, because I'm a big wings guy. I'm disappointed with wings, more than I'm not. And that's why down at the Virginia Jets fan club, I was very delighted with the
Gates
wings.
of Hell. That's right.
Yeah, Gates of Hell wings. That's right. I like
have our draft party.
Yeah. When I come down, now that I'm in Virginia, I'm going to do another, if it's okay with you, I'll talk to you about it, but I'd like to come down again and spend a Sunday with you guys and have those wings again.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Yeah, the schedule doesn't come out till May. I'm like, I want a schedule, I want to start planning something.
Yeah, right. Eddie McGuire says he's only been to barbecues on Fordham Road in the Bronx. I used to work on Fordham Road in the Bronx. I used to work there. I worked there for a few months, did a big, huge construction site there. But I didn't have any barbecue. I had a lot of pastelillos and empanadas and all that kind of shit. I would buy everything from the street in the Bronx. I love it. I know it's all rats and shit, but why not? You know what I mean? Why not? All right, guys. Let me see. Now everybody's hungry. Now they all want to talk. Cadoza had vegetarian for the Super Bowl. All right, guys. So we are going to wrap this up. I want to tell you that the information for this awesome crew is all in the comment section of. Oh no, in the what is it called?
The description.
The description. Jesus Christmas.
The dibbly-doo.
Yeah, in the dibbly-doo of this video, in the description of this video, you can find all of their Facebook pages, Instagram pages, YouTube pages, and all that jazz. Jeremy, NFL Chaos with Jeremy, just about daily shows, but the particular shows of interest are Wat2K show with him on Wednesday and Sunday with our very own Dom C. Frankie from Flatbush Channel, one of the best out there as well. I love Frankie's Tuesday News Day, where he just goes, and here's another news. I like that. I like how you say it. And another news. And Wat2K, if you didn't know, is the president of the Virginia Jets fan club. These boys are in it. This crew is legit. We're doing it out here. And of course, don't forget to like this video on the way out and subscribe if you haven't already. And my Patreon gets you exclusive content. Join the Beanbaggers and you can get all kinds of cool extras from me, and you support the channel. And that's always fun. As a courtesy to you, I also have a gas link in the description of the video. I'm not sponsored by them. They don't give me anything. But if we both use it, we get extra 15 cents off per gallon. With gas being what it is, it can be very helpful. I already had like 20 people sign up. If you haven't, it's worth it, man. It helps immensely. I don't buy gas without the app. It's the truth. I save money every single time I go to the pump. Guys, I love you. Great night in the chat. You got an extra hour and 11 minutes out of us. It is 11:11. Everyone make a wish. I wish GreenBean would stay on another hour. That's what I'm hearing. But I can't. But guys, have a great night, everybody. I think we did a good one here, boys. And thank you all for being here. Have a good night. See you next time.
Yeah, here we go, baby. Here we say that.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.